You're a goddamn fool, Herman, Herman. Claymation looking ass, firing top brass, bottom of your class, oh Herman. Herman, Herman. Stupid, stupid Herman. Herman, no clue what you're doing, oh Herman. Somehow you have a job, working like a slob. No one likes you, Herman, you suck. Herman loves horizon, even though it's mid. Now he runs PlayStation like a mark of skid. Herman, Herman, Herman. Stupid, stupid Herman. Herman, no clue what you're doing, oh Herman. Somehow you have a job, working like a slob. No one likes you, Herman, you suck. Herman smells like fish, probably eats children. I kinda think he's a lizard. A literal rock would be better. Herman, Herman, Herman. Stupid, stupid Herman. Herman, no clue what you're doing, oh Herman. Somehow you have a job, working like a slob. No one likes you, Herman, you suck. Herman, you suck. Herman, you suck.
All of this just works. Welcome.
Yo, man, in Gotham where the brick stack high, Lego Batman swoops, lighting up the sky. Legacy of the Dark Knight, looking so fine, got that reggae rhythm. Games divine, click clack, plastic capes in the breeze, villains trembling, falling to their knees. From Arkham's ashes, a Lego star's born. This game's so hot, it's Rasta reborn. Oh, Lego Batman, legacy of the Dark Knight, shining so bright, it's still in the fight. Game of the year, 2026, it's true. GTA 6, crying what we gonna do. A Lego game, picking up Arkham's crown. Suicide Squad, y'all let us down. Rastabat cave with a brick built vibe. Lego Dark Knight, keeping hope alive. Batarang snapping, built from Lego blocks. Penguins waddling, but he's out of stock. Suicide Squad tried, but he crashed and burned. Should have been like this, man, lessons learned. GTA 6, Vice City's looking shook. Lego Batman's got them shook in their books. A toy game taking Arkham's holy grail. That's the capes winning, that's the funny tale. Oh, Lego Batman, legacy of the Dark Knight, shining so bright, it's still in the fight. Game of the year, 2026, it's true. GTA 6, crying what we gonna do. A Lego game, picking up Arkham's crown. Suicide Squad, y'all let us down. Rastabat cave with a brick built vibe. Lego Dark Knight, keeping hope alive.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Lego Batman. Lego Batman, indeed. It's going to be great. I can't wait. I know you can't either. I know GTA 6, yeah, looks fine, I guess, but Lego Batman? That's where it's at. That's where it's at. That's where it's at. That's what I'm looking forward to. That's what I'm looking forward to. Friend of the channel and Platinum Hunter extraordinaire, Rob, posted these, press the wrong button, these pictures. So I played, I think he means I tried, ... I tried Lego Batman Legacy of the Dark Knight. Such a full circle moment for me and one of the coolest moments of my career so far. More thoughts soon. Look at this. Look at my boy. In the wild. Trying the game. Now, I probably... I'm gonna get in trouble. I'm so glad he got to go because he loves Lego. He's also a Lego fiend like me. I have lots of Lego all around me. I'm so glad he got to go. And yeah, he'll share all of his thoughts and everything soon enough. But I had heard that this thing was happening, and so we did our bits and bops to like reach out. Fun fact. So you guys know, I talked a little bit, just a little bit, about a little game, a little game that also came from Warner Brothers, called Suicide Squad: Kill the Justice League. It is my understanding that I was on the list, and then they searched my coverage of Suicide Squad and decided, maybe not. Which, fair enough. I was not gentle, you know. Some games I'm gentle. This one, I was not gentle. I was rough, dare I say, chafed. It was brutal. Brutal, maybe. So if I did not attend the event, people were asking and sending me DMs asking me if I went. I did not go to the event. Would have happily gone. I think Lego Batman looks awesome, but I understand based on past discussions of another Warner Brothers game, they decided that they'd like to not take the risk. Which is a little funny. And again, nobody's entitled to go to any event. But I got it on relatively good authority that everything was good to go. They're like, yeah, we can get Luke out here. And then they specifically, one person, a higher up at Warner Brothers, apparently did some searching and was like, he was kind of mean about Suicide Squad. Which, honestly, I think it's my understanding that everybody there, when you talk about Suicide Squad, like everybody in Warner Brothers knows. Like it's not like High Guard. I think everybody there was actually drinking the Kool-Aid and actually thought that game was amazing, and then they were like genuinely shocked that people didn't like it. I genuinely think that's the case. I think they were true believers. Suicide Squad, though, it seems like outside of Rocksteady, everybody knew that was a dumpster fire. And so I don't think it's a novel or hot take, you know. I don't see it. Trying this game is brutal. Yeah, trying Suicide Squad, did you try? Well, if you got it for $3, that's not a bad idea. You saw what that Luke Stevens did to Suicide Squad. Well, dude, there's still people saying that I'm the reason that Suicide Squad flopped. I'm the reason that Starfield has a poor reputation online. I'm flattered people think I have that power. Similarly, there's also people at companies like Build a Rocket Boy who think that YouTubers are responsible for the game flopping and going poorly. For example, Nick Tech posted this. They did a new mission, long story short. Mind's Eye comes out. It flops. It's broken. It's buggy. It's not finished. It's like the worst reviewed game of the year. Whole thing. Fast forward a few months, the CEO of Build a Rocket Boy, the studio behind it, says that there was like internal espionage and there was a concerted effort, heavily implying it was because of Rockstar paying for it. He never outright said that, but it was heavily suggested that there was some big multinational corporation that was paying YouTubers to badmouth the game, and that's why it failed. Not because it wasn't finished and was bad, but because of these nasty YouTubers. And they said that they were going to do a new mission that was going to represent their experience over the last year. As you can see, Nick Tech got a clip of the gameplay. In case you're wondering how the Mind's Eye new mission looks like, which is all about giving players some insight into the real life sabotage, I would have put that in quotation marks, and espionage that happened within the company leading to the game's failure. Just listen to this, okay? I'll point out some of the specific call outs that they do here, okay?
Any intel on the identity of your mole?
So the CEO has suggested that there are employees within Build a Rocket Boy who are on the literal payroll of a PR firm that was hired by this other multinational corporation he can't name.
That would assume it's only one person. This is espionage on the highest level.
Of course.
Someone on the outside has been paying big money to spread corruption within Meridian's ranks, creating a ritual network from the vulnerable or disgruntled.
The agency that they have alleged was responsible for paying the YouTubers to badmouth the game was called Ritual Network. He created a ritual network from the vulnerable or disgruntled. So it's a little dog whistle, little thing in there. Again, this PR firm out of the UK has, like, they've said they have no idea what they're talking about. Like, they have no idea.
At Caleb's 92 donated $20 through Super Chat. Luke, don't you know, you ITH single-handedly ruin and shut down games like Starfield, even though they're totally great games and doing well. While also just repeating the internet's opinion without an original opinion.
It really is amazing. It's like, what is more likely that maybe the game is just not clicking with people, they don't like it, and a YouTuber that happens to have like a normal opinion that everybody kind of agrees with, which is bad game bad. Could that be the explanation, that maybe the bad game is bad? No. I think what it is it's this honest belief that like influencers really do dictate the direction. Like, I think there are some people within these companies that genuinely think if you pay like some big content creator, Mr. Beast or XQC or somebody to hype up your game, it will be a massive success. But I think that's just the fundamental misunderstanding. The audience often is what dictates everything. Like, if the audience hates a game, the content creator that's the black sheep that happens to love it is going to get dunked on and made fun of, which is fun, and that's fine. You know, everybody has out-of-pocket opinions, and that's fine. But this idea that like just because somebody has a lot of followers online, they can magically make things successful or failures, like it's just not. This is not how that works. It just isn't. Just look at Hall of Meat. Hall of Meat, King of Meat. You're thinking of King of Meat. Yeah, Hall of Meat, I almost like better. King of Meat is a fantastic example. I'm glad you brought that up. King of Meat, of course, was Amazon's big live service game. Steam, DB. And they shut it down already, but you can see they peaked at 320 players. And you know what happened? So all of this was actually, it goes back a little further, but they did peak at 320 on Steam. But they spent God knows how much money paying Mr. Beast, King of Meat. They paid Mr. Beast to do a big video
How are we feeling, great
on
team?
King of Meat.
Yellow team. Only one team's getting eliminated this round. Is it gonna be you guys?
It's gonna be them.
Oh, it's gonna be orange?
I thought we were friends.
No, man.
Let's get this game going. For this dungeon, you will not be able to move on.
Why is he yelling? For this dungeon, we're going to be running to the next room and we're going to be pushing on. And if you win, you don't get eliminated. Buy my lunch meat. They spent millions on this video. I don't know exactly how much, but knowing how much creators of this size and scale can charge for stuff, this video cost millions. Okay. Millions. It did. When we looked at it around like closer to launch, it was like 7 million views. So they got, for millions of dollars, 6 to 7 million views. You can see this was posted October 3rd of 2025. Let's look at the chart. What happened October 2nd? Okay, October 2nd, launch day, 212 players. October 3rd comes along. They went up 41 players. Like, bro, you spend millions of dollars. You get a video that's seen millions of times, and your return on that investment is 41 players. Granted, this is just on Steam. It was also on console. So let's be generous. Let's quadruple it. Let's say they got 160 players. They literally could have gone, used the money they spent on the Mr. Beast video and just bought, I don't know, thousands of copies of the game and then deleted the codes. And they would have made more money than hiring Mr. Beast to make that video. And like, this isn't even up for debate. Like, you can see when the video was posted, you can see how many views it did. That return on investment is ungodly. Like, it's insane. Actually outrageous. But that's how a lot of these big companies work. They think that this is how you market something. Not realizing that the 6-year-olds who are watching these videos don't actually, like, aren't actually buying it. Like, dude, this is a bunch of like Roblox streamers.
The biggest creators on YouTube.
Some of them, sure, are like Jelly. I know used to do GTA stuff. Do I recognize literally anyone else? I don't think I recognize a single other person. Jelly I've seen before from like way back in the day. But I don't know anybody else. But you can see, like, after all of this, this on paper should generate an insane amount of conversions, right? But it just goes to show you how like fake and like artificial so much of it is. It's just wild. Absolutely wild. But anyway, there you go. So it's another example of how I think as an influencer, we don't actually have that much power. It's probably bad for my business to say that, but like, let's be honest. Mind's Eye did not die because a few YouTubers were secretly paid money, which they weren't. Mind's Eye died and failed because it was not ready and was rushed out and was buggy and broken. And it just wasn't good. Like, what do you want from me?
Sounds like you've got a real pest control problem.
Real pests. Oh, they called them pests. Like, dude, they actually put this in the game.
On the identity of your mole?
And this whole mission is about going and finding the moles, and then like you take them out, like kill them. It's like actually insane. It's actually insane. It's like if Bethesda was upset about Jason Schreier leaking something, and so they just write in like a character named Javon Schreiber, and then have it be an assassination mission. Like, it's actually ridiculous. It's actually unhinged. But that's what they're doing. Like, they're actually writing in the name of this agency that has nothing to do with anything. And it's like actually mental. It's actually mental. But that's just, I can't say I'm surprised anymore. They just, you know what? They keep you guessing. At the end of the day, they keep you guessing. And then it keeps you guessing. Real quick, thank you, Fear Sorella. Thank you for the sub with Prime over there. Sayora-san. Thank you for the resub over on Twitch. A whole year, whoop whoop. Indeed, whoop whoop, my friend. Much love. Much love. Glad to have you here, my friend. A full year. That's very humbling. I'm glad to have you here. And time flies when you're having fun, doesn't it? Sure do. Sure do. Sure do. Real quick over on the YouTube side of things, let me say thank you. I saw somebody at the start of stream say, get ready. I'm so ready to sit here and watch Luke or watch a guy from Colorado read super chats for 3 hours, which I chuckled. And I've thought about it because like, I don't want the stream to just turn into me reading super chats the whole time. You guys are very generous and I appreciate that. But I also don't want you to feel like you have to spend money to like talk and for me to see what you're saying. Because I try to read normal chats too, you know? So, I have a seen system requirements for Blood of Dawnwalker. Yes, I have it pulled up. We'll look at it. So I don't know what the solution is. I don't know what do big streamers do? Do they just not read super chats below a certain amount so people stop sending them? I don't know. I don't want somebody to send like a $1 super chat then be upset that I didn't read it, but I also don't want them to feel like they have to spend $1 for me to see it, you know? Don't read. Just pretend to read super chat. Oh, just like make up super chats. just to like say whatever I want to say. Quick $57 super chat from John. Luke, you're right about everything, and I think everyone should just agree with everything you say. Thanks, man. I agree. We could do that. That could work. We could do that. To be very honest, most of the streamers' chat goes by super fast. Well, I usually can keep up with it. It's just once things get clogged up with a lot of super chats, it's tough. It's really tough, you know. Super chat speedrun segments. Well, that's also tricky because like I try to blast through them, but then if I want to talk about something or if I want to react or say something in response to it, like I don't want to just ignore messages. I don't know. I don't know. It's tricky. Don't read this. God damn it. Sorry, chicks. I don't know. It's tricky. It's a very first world problem. Real quick, 14 months from Melissa. Luke, you're right about everything, and we agree with everything you say. Thanks, Melissa. Yeah, I agree. Thanks. Great. That's good. Praise be to Todd, and also that's funny AF. We're actually going to talk a little bit about Bethesda today here in a second. The Boost 101. The Boost is loose. Thank you for the 5. Just rolled credits on Crimson Desert with over 160 hours played. Ooh, baby. Love this game. Yeah, dude, it's freaking gigantic and absolutely mind-boggling. But I mean, what a way to start the year too. Yeah, I'm so glad it turned out. Caleb, again, thank you for that 20. That was very generous. Thank you for that. Boost also became a member. Glad to have you, my friend. Thank you. Meat of Bezos. Yeah, dude, they spent so much money on that, and then it was dead within a week. I mean, it's bad. Mo Lahan, thank you for the 2. Are you talking about the greatest game of all time? Usually, if we're talking about Mind's Eye, yeah. I love the game. It's just, you know, they paid me more to say it was bad, so that's that's what I concluded, you know. Thomas, thank you for the super chat. Hi, Luke. Watch you for a long time, but now is the first time I make a comment. Thanks for doing what you're doing. Keep up the good work. Thank you, my friend. Much love. Glad to have you, my friend. Thank you. Mo, also with a $10 super chat. Thank you. Very generous. What's up, Luke? How have you been? Are you talking about Mind's Eye Delusion and the DLC they put spyware on their employees? You should play it. I'm not that into re-downloading it. If they actually do a Cyberpunk level rework and like give it new life, I'll happily check it out, but it's not there yet, you know. And this DLC makes me actually uncomfortable. This like weird thing where you're going on a mission to wipe out moles that they are suggesting are YouTubers and stuff. It's just weird, man. The whole thing is weird. I don't know. That's not going to happen. Well, I mean, they claim it is. They're working on it. I don't know how they still have money, but they're trying. Need more and mommy? Oh, we'll get it, Isaac. We'll get it. We'll get it. And mommy as always. She is forever. Checks. I almost read it again. You almost got me twice. Thank you for that super chat. Thank you again, Melissa, for the membership. My listening library, YouTube. Thank you for that super chat. Luke, you're right about everything. Saros is great. Saros is actually great. I have a video going up tomorrow on Saros. I filmed it like a week ago and then just kind of been sitting on it for launch. But it should be good. Should be good. But yeah, it's really good. Let's see. Get one free super chat a month with the membership for $4.99. Are you asking, can we do that, or that you do get that? I'm not sure what that means, but yeah, yes, sure. Why not? Thank you for 13 months, my friend. Appreciate you. Robbie the Sky, thank you for the 12 months. Oh, baby, another year. Today is the day of year renewals. Time flies when we vibin'. Indeed, my friend. I'm vibing. Indeed. Lego Batman, too good to be true. Worry the combat and world will be overhyped and boring after long, and it's just another Lego game. I think it's going to be very different than people are braced for. I think it's not going to be standard Lego game. I think they actually have kind of gone back to the drawing board and taken a lot of lessons from the Arkham games. But like I said, there's a preview that just happened, and so we'll hear people talk about their previews soon. Call me asparagus, always. And then lastly, Harry, thank you for that one. We can have fun just by not playing Starfield. Yeah, you just sit on your hands. It's great. Or like, sometimes I'll just sit and like stare at the ceiling. That works too. So that's a solid option. And then Mr. Mo, thank you, 29 months. Ooh, baby, can you confirm you do get a free chat every month? Here is my 29th. Praise Todd Howard by thy name. You just mean whenever your membership renews, you get effectively a message with it. I see. I was asking a friend of mine who is a much bigger and more successful streamer how they avoid like the stream just clogging up, because they're on Twitch and they used to do like, bits are a thing over on Twitch. They ran into problems because they were trying to read every like message that had bits about it or in it, and bits are like 1 cent, so they would have people sending messages and it was like 1 bit, or 5 bits, 10 bits, whatever, which is like, thank you for the bits, but also if everybody does that, you'll never get to read the normal chat, and so you just run into a problem. So they had to instill rules that they just are like, you don't have to send me money to chat, just chat in the regular chat, but if you want to support the stream and what we're doing, the floor is here. They said it's like $10 or something, and that's the minimum that they'll react to. I don't know if I want to do that though, because there's always going to be people who don't know that that's the rule and then send a super chat and then are upset that it wasn't read, so I don't know what the fix is. Remind me again how to access Discord now that I'm a member. Thanks. You connect your YouTube account to your Discord account in the connections tab in settings, and it should connect it within a few hours and get you in the Discord. For some people, it doesn't connect properly. It seems totally random. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. 95% of the time it works perfectly fine. But the few times it doesn't, you just have to like send me an email with your like screen cap proving you're a member, and then we can send you a link to just brute force you into the server. But yeah, it's a whole thing. It's a whole thing. Buttery Cheeks, thank you for the 5. This is a hot take, Luke, but I think Blood of Dawn Walker looks good, but not $70 good. Feels like there's some jank and the visual fidelity is okay. We're going to talk about that in just a minute, because there's also another, I don't know if scandal's the right word, but there's a lot of outrage over this slide right here, because a lot of people feel like it is way more demanding than it should be for a game that looks the way it does. We'll talk about it though. We'll get there. So people, there's a lot of conflicted messaging on it. Yeah. 60% of the time it works every time. Exactly. Backup stream for chats only. I know some people will do that where they're like, okay, we'll read all of the chats at the end. The problem is with that, like a lot of people will send a super chat asking or commenting on something we just talked about. It's like they'll send a super chat about Mind's Eye. If I read that 3 hours after the fact, it's like, no idea what you're talking about, What would be really nice is if YouTube just let me like put the floor to it and just be like, okay, yeah, don't worry about Don't worry about super chats below this level. Don't stress it. Don't do it. You know, we just set the floor there. But they don't let you do that. I can set alerts, so like the only stuff that pops up on stream is of a certain level. But yeah, I don't know. It's a very spoiled person problem. You know, how do I get people to stop giving me money? You know, how do I get people to stop giving me money? Daddy, chill. That's what I need. I just need a pop up every time somebody sends super chat. Daddy, chill. I love. Don't get me wrong. I love the money. The money's great. I love the money. It's fantastic. But I'd rather you guys keep it because I'm doing just fine. I'd rather you keep it and not feel the stress of feeling like you're fighting, you know, a bidding war to get my attention. I'd rather we all just get like chatting in chat. But I also understand that YouTube is not built that way. YouTube is built to make money for YouTube as well. And so it's, you know, they want to make money. And so it's just tricky, you know, but what are you going to do? Hope all is well. Want to see another visit with Jor. Yeah, I'd love to do another visit with Jor. I don't actually know. Did he already do a preview for Black Flag? No. He did have a really funny tweet though. Thanks, Skull and Bones. You sang so the Black Flag remake could sail. Which, yeah, pretty much. So yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe I'll see him soon. I don't know. But we shall see. We shall see. Okay. I just see my sub as a Luke's yacht contribution. Well, whatever you got to do, you know, whatever you got to do to feel better. Alex, thank you for the 2 as well. And thank you for the 6 months, Sneaky Pickle. Thank you for the 2. Hey, Luke, can you do a more deep dive on the PlayStation DMR? Yeah, so the PlayStation, let me see where it's bookmarked. I think you mean DRM. But Spawnwave did some testing. Let's see. Yeah, so Destin also did some digging on it. AW Monopoly Man did some digging on it. What appears to be is well, we can do like a whole, there's this and then there's one more thing. It's the Spawnwave clip specifically. Maybe I can find the snippet this way. This.
There's a lot of discussion and a lot of confusion.
Okay. Yeah, let's do this. New mini segment thing. Let's do it. Rock and roll. Thank you, King Cole. So Capcom is just winning right now. Do you think it will be GTA 6 for Game of the Year? Do you mean with Capcom, I guess, because they're killing it so well, do you mean like any game in particular or just of their portfolio? I don't know. I know they're going to be nominated with at least one game, but as for whether it beats GTA 6, who knows? Because for one, we don't know if GTA 6 is actually going to launch. I personally think it will, but we don't know for sure. And it's possible. It's possible that they beat it out. But I think if you're going to step up to GTA 6, you've got to be like also high 90s on Metacritic, which is extremely hard to do. And so far, nothing has quite approached that level. They've put out really, really good games, but there's really, really good, amazing, and then masterpiece. I think everybody has just assumed that GTA 6 will be masterpiece. So, and so far, all the games we've gotten this year are either amazing or really good. Not all of them, but like the top ones. So, I'm not sure if anything is on that level yet. I mean, there's still plenty of time. Lego Batman, for example. But we'll just have to see. It's tough though. Like don't underestimate. Like yes, 2018 God of War took it from Red Dead 2, which was like shocking, but it's also because God of War 2018 received universal acclaim, like masterpiece scores. So it's just going to be really, really tough to kick them off the throne. But never say never. It's not impossible. It's not impossible. It can happen. It can happen. I need GTA to flop. Why? Why do you need that? That's so mean. You're being so mean about it. You're being so mean. Okay, let's talk about this. New mini segment. So Sony decided to once more step on a rake and then shove their whole face into a hornet's nest, all while walking on a bunch of Lego pieces, and then they just refuse to talk about it. Basically, what's happened is that Sony has been caught up in a new scandal tied to DRM debates, always online debates. DRM, if you're not familiar, is digital rights management software, and it's basically what companies use to combat things like piracy or return abuses, where people will buy things, for example, on like stolen credit cards, and then they buy it, then they refund it, and like there's all sorts of shenanigans that happens that DRM is aimed to combat, but predominantly it's to try and combat piracy, quote unquote. Which is a very broad thing, but that's at least what they claim it's for. But they issued an update where basically what seemed to happen is that for new digital purchases that you make through PlayStation, if your console does not connect to the internet for 30 days, your license is effectively revoked. So like you could buy a copy of a game and then you sit on it for a month, your console's disconnected for a month or whatever. And even though you bought the game, you download it and everything, it just will not boot if that 30-day timer passes without it checking with a server to verify, which obviously is like a nightmare when it comes to digital right or digital content preservation and games preservation. Like the example I have been thinking about constantly is PT actually. PT, if you somehow don't remember, PT playable teaser. This was the teaser for Hideo Kojima's Silent Hill game that never ended up seeing the light of day, and was canceled. But people still will sell their PS4s that have PT installed on it, and like this is still something that regularly is trading in the marketplace because this digital copy of the game still exists on this hardware. You cannot re-download it because it was unlisted from the PlayStation Store. So just because it exists on this console and you cannot re-download it, this becomes like a capsule to preserve PT as a game effectively. And so people will collect them. Like people will collect them specifically. You can see all they've got on here is PT, it seems. And that's it. But people are willing to buy it just to collect and have this little piece of gaming history. Under these new rules, it appears that this would no longer work. This just the console would basically delist this, deactivate your license to that thing from the PlayStation Store, and this would be lost forever, which is naturally why people are pretty pissy about it. But far from taking Twitter's word for it, our friend Spawnwave, I've been on his show with him, really cool guy, really, really awesome. He sat down and decided to test some of this himself, and he found some interesting information that is concerning. So buckle up.
Right now on this Sony PlayStation 5,
Please hold.
PlayStation 4 DRM situation. And while I know people are talking about PS4, there's certainly a lot of concern, I'd say, generated more towards the PlayStation 5. But people are still kind of unsure as to what is happening right now with this and if it's actually a thing. So I figured, you know what, while people are testing it, we can run our own test here right now. And there are a few other things I wanted to check along with this. And fortunately, with the PS5 Pro, it's pretty easy to get the CMOS battery, so this will make this a fairly quick process, but take a look at that here today. So if you guys enjoyed the video, hit the like button.
I shut it accidentally. Happily. So the CMOS battery, if you are not tech savvy, which is fine if you're not, the CMOS battery is basically what you use for like,
there's a lot of discussion.
It's what you use for like internal time tracking. So it's almost like a watch battery. Like, I don't know if you can actually see if I turn off, if I move my candles, you can see that there's a little CMOS. You can't really see it actually. There's a little battery in the computer case, like on the motherboard, that's actually used to maintain an internal clock. So it tracks the daily like date, time, hours, everything. So even when your computer shut off, it can still keep track of the date. Same thing is happening within the PS5 and PS5 Pro. And that is important because, again, when we're talking about digital rights stuff, if you're disconnected from the internet, that's one aspect of this. But if your console, imagine it's disconnected and it's put in storage or something. And so people are just not touching it. People are not using it. Like, you should still have the game that you bought, I would think. I don't think that's like a controversial thing to say. You know? I don't think that's that controversial, but apparently it is. So he's going to experiment with removing that CMOS battery, which will effectively cause the PS5 to not know what day or what year or what time it is. And you would hope that it would still allow you to have the games that you bought, right? So that's effectively what he's trying and experimenting with and seeing if it changes anything
on the PlayStation 4 for each game. So what I wanted to do was check out a couple of recently purchased games, a digital game that I've had for a bit, which we can fire up, I guess, Crimson Desert. That
I
should
just realized
be fine.
my chat was covering his face.
And then I also have a disc-based game, just to make sure, because I saw some people bring that
At
up. The
Arkham
question of,
Vigilante
hold on a minute.
5498 donated $20 through Super Chat.
Thank you, my friend.
Hey Luke, Ust finished replay in Origins, loved it, but the only thing I really didn't like was the ending where Bayek and Aya divorce. It just seemed forced story-wise, since like every interaction they have,
the game is lovely. The thing about I was actually just talking about I was just talking to a friend of mine about games specifically for couples and like managing the relationships and stuff. They're like, I wonder why there's not many games that tackle difficult relationship stuff. I was like, bro, play It Takes Two. It Takes Two is like literally it's about a couple that's getting divorced and is like trying to repair their marriage and their relationship with their child and everything. It's like way more intense than you would ever expect. You know, it's crazy hardcore. I'm sorry, you said divorce in the context of video game discussions. So it just made me think of that thing. Sorry, my chair is stuck in my cracked floor cover thing. As for Origins specifically, I love Origins dearly. This is one of the moments where I really want to go on a tangent and I really want to get into details, but we should focus on what we're doing. The relationship between Bayek and Aya is multifaceted and is, yes, my chair is stuck in my crack. And I think there's a lot more layers to it. To me, it didn't feel like none of their relationship story beats felt particularly rushed or anything, but like I could go on a tangent. I could go into all of this, but anyway, we'll refocus. Thank you for the 20. I'll try to stay focused for now. Maybe we circle back to talking about that because I do have thoughts. Anyway, continuing.
Is this the C-bomb situation again? Did Sony do something and it kind of messed up something in the back end for the PlayStation Network, and also disc-based games are affected? We can quickly figure that out with Pragmata actually in the system right now. So let's take a look at the games that I have picked up. I grabbed Saint Slayer. This is just an hour ago or so. And then I also picked up Vampire Crawlers. Okay. So both fairly cheap games. I am actually pretty interested in Saint Slayer and
The key is that he just bought these. So these are not old games on your account. These are new ones that he just bought.
Keep an eye on that. Should be a lot of fun. As they said, NES-style 2D action game. Looks very similar to Castlevania, although I don't think they can say like Castlevania. So that should be a lot of fun there. So the idea, since I am connected to the internet, this should just fire up and have no problem. And indeed, we're seeing it start up right away. And this would have at least some kind of error message immediately if there was a problem starting up. So that looks good. And then we'll also fire up Vampire Crawlers.
Okay.
That is firing up without any issue as expected. I am connected to the internet. There should be no problems. Even if I'm not, I would also be in the 30-day check-in window. Here's Crimson Desert. I will fire that up just to be sure. That's kind of our control group, as I bought that, of course, when it came out last month. And also firing up without any issues here. And then finally, I will go back and I'll fire up the disc-based Pragmata game, just so we can see that all the games load up here, no problem, connect to the internet. Good game, by the way. If you have not played Pragmata, completely recommended.
Honest question, is it Pragmata or Pragmata? This is like Nier Automata. I never know how to say it.
Finished it up earlier today.
Pragmata.
So, the hunt for the platinum, I don't know. We'll see, because that you got to go back through on lunatic mode, and I was a little disappointed that it wasn't New Game Plus unlocks lunatic mode to go back through with all your cool stuff. But either way, there's still more to do. And anyway, everything here looks good. So now what? What do we have to do to simulate, say, your licenses being broken and being outside of that 30-day window? See, because you can't just check this window, since there is no there's no timer here, as you see with the PlayStation 4, and I can move myself there for a second. Everything there looks fine, right? I also want to show that, just be thorough, when offline here currently, if I go over, I can still launch Saint Slayer again, because I fit into that 30-day window at this point. So everything looks good there. We do now need to break the licensing and kind of simulate being out of that 30-day window. In order to do that, we got to pull the CMOS battery. As I mentioned, they made this pretty easy, so I can kind of like show and tell style this thing with our little CMOS battery door.
It's so cute.
With one Phillips head screw, the battery comes right up, and that should now have reset our licenses. So now I just need to turn the system on, leave it disconnected from the internet, and we'll see if we can load up any of those newer games. All right, back to the dashboard. The time, you can see, is all messed up. It's supposed to be just after 4 p.m. Eastern, and it thinks it's 7 o'clock. Yeah, you can see it's defaulted back to 2011, 12/31/2011, 7:01 p.m., which if I did connect to the internet, it would fix the date, the time, any of that. But with that in mind, let's see what happens here when we try to fire up Saint Slayer. And there you go. Can't use this content. Can't connect to the server. To verify your license, wait a while and then try again. Okay, so Saint Slayer does not work. Vampire Crawlers, same deal. Can't use this content. Can't connect to the server to verify your license. Okay, wait a while and try again. With that in mind, Crimson Desert, again, picked that up when once it came out, more than a month ago now. And we picked that guy. Yeah, looks like that one fires up no problem. Digital game. The whole idea is that this situation that's going on right now with the license check is not being retroactively applied. So any of your current digital games should not have this issue popping up. We can see offline with CMOS reset, the whole thing. The license is not broken for Crimson Desert. Okay,
Crimson Desert goated.
Let's go back, and
So let me be clear. This is one of those things that, it's true, does not affect probably 99% of players, okay? The vast majority of people will have their consoles connected to the internet. They will have their consoles connected to the servers, regularly to check licenses, so they would never notice this. Like, honestly, if this was not being called out by people, I don't think many people would notice or pick up on it, period. As with many things like this, the typical frustration comes from the long-term implications of this, because I, for one, have a PS4 Pro in my closet, which was my primary console back during that era. It still has games installed on it. It still has my stuff on it. And it's something I can plug in a year, in 2 years, whatever. And it's going to boot up, have my stuff on there, and I can just immediately use it. The reason why people are perturbed by this is because under these new rules, these games would not be able to be preserved in that way. It effectively means that you are buying, as they describe it, just a license. You're not buying the software, downloading it, and then it's yours to use. You have a timer on a constant checkup for your games. Now, since this has come out, there's been some further exploration, some further experimentation, trying to figure out what's going on. It seems like this primarily was done in response to an exploit that some people were using to basically buy a game and then refund it while still owning the copy of the game. So effectively, like somebody even in chat just described it. Yeah, so like Chris Gotaku, I read the DRM issue is about the PS4 being jailbroken, where they can extract the digital license or something, being able to do a refund of the game being recently bought and still keeping the game. Effectively, what you, and I think broad strokes that's correct, what you were able to do effectively was to buy a game through the store, and then you would, with a jailbroken console, you'd be able to go and refund the game while keeping the digital license in place. And you can basically disconnect the console from the store's ability to check the license. And because it didn't have a constant check on the license, you could refund the game, get your money back, but you still have the game, right? Which obviously PlayStation doesn't like. And it is an exploit. It is something they wanted to fix. My point, and I think the frustration for many other people, is that this is a fix that is so broad that it actually does a lot more damage than good, I think. Because once again, it seemingly just completely eliminates the rights of consumers that bought the product and want to keep it. It makes it so you have to do regular checks on this. There are still questions, though, about whether the license will switch. And this is where some of the debate is. So specifically whether after a certain period of time the license switches from a temporary, quote unquote temporary one to a permanent one. So AW Monopoly Man, for example, posted this, and apparently after 14 to 16 days, as in once a refund period is up, then they silently switch your license to a permanent one where that thing we just saw would no longer apply. So this would specifically be during the return window to make it so you couldn't just refund it and then try to keep the game after getting your money back. As you can see here, there's some people, this looks like Reset Era, I think so. I mentioned earlier, or in an earlier thread, how I had a game that was affected by this, which subsequently fixed itself. I've been doing some further testing to try and understand what is happening. I have a jailbroken PS4, so I can poke around things behind the scenes. Here's what I found about how licensing seems to work on the PS4. The PS4 will install a license file for all of the content your account owns, regardless of whether or not that content is actually installed. This is a key point. If it is true that they are addressing a license exploit, this happens automatically. So if I buy a game on the PlayStation Store website and then turn on my PS4, the license for that recent purchase is automatically installed. Whether or not you can actually use the license for the game is then further controlled by the activation state of your console, i.e. is it set to primary for offline play, or whether you're online and connected to PSN in the case of non-primary consoles. In either case, those license files always seem to be present. These license files are valid for an indefinite amount of time for content you own outright, 14 days for content from PlayStation Plus Extra and Premium, and for the duration of your subscription for PlayStation Plus Essential games. What has changed now is that new purchases are not being automatically issued a license file with an indefinite duration. Instead, a 30-day license is issued. I have 2 recent purchased games I've been able to test this with. Game 1 I purchased on April 9th, turned on the PS4 on April 21st, and a 30-day license for the game was automatically installed. I then installed the game on the 25th of April. The information screen confirmed the game was only playable offline for another 26 days. Approximately 30 minutes after installing the game, the license had been replaced with one, which is valid for an indefinite amount of time, and this remains the case even if I delete and reinstall the game. So that is 16 days between the initial purchase and the license showing as being eligible for permanent offline play. Game 2 I purchased yesterday, April 27th, and I installed the same day. Again, 30-day license for the game was installed. Unlike the first game, no permanent license has been issued yet. So why is one game behaving differently than the other? The obvious thing which stands out is length of time since purchased. I've owned the first game for 16 days, which put it outside of PSN's 14-day refund window. So I'm speculating that perhaps people were exploiting the fact that you could purchase a game, grab the indefinite license file for the thing off of an exploitable PS4, and then refund the purchase, and Sony is currently mitigating this issue by time limiting the initial license that you are issued. In lieu of actual information from Sony, perhaps we can do some community detective work to validate this, etc., etc. And that's basically the claim, is that this seems to be tied to the refund window. Shinobu AF says this claims that you will get a real license after 14 days. However, multiple people who were testing this DRM tried games bought over 14 days ago and still get blocked. So this is not true. Now they're changing the narrative after 30 days, which just sounds like a cope to defend Sony. And then this one specifically says, he quotes this post and says, I tested this with my digital copy of RE Requiem that I purchased on April 10th with PS5 Pro with CMOS removed and disconnected from the internet, and it still works. Seems like this person's finding is correct, that it switches to permanent license after 2 weeks, which would verify, or at least heavily suggest, that this seems to be an attempt to address an issue with refund exploits for jailbroken consoles, where you basically jailbreak it, you can access the license files that you can't normally get access to. They just copy that, refund it, copy back over the license file. They have access to the game then, even though they haven't effectively paid for it. They got the refund. So you can see Destin's retweet of this, or quote tweet of this. Breaking on the PlayStation DRM issue. One community member thinks they figured it out. It's a way to protect the license exploit. You buy a new game, DRM is installed for 30 days. Once the return window is up, DRM is removed. You have the permanent license. I saw some people complaining about breaking things, so I'm going to do it all the time now. Or the breaking thing, breaking news. And here's where I'm at. I think that it probably makes sense that they were trying to fix an exploit that they've been meaning to fix for like a decade at this point. My frustration is still that it seems too broad to me, and I think that they're fixing something. Like, realistically, how often is this being utilized? Like, let's be totally honest. Is this like a common thing? I think I vaguely remember hearing something about jailbroken consoles being able to kind of game copies of games. But let's be real. Is that happening like what? 100 times? 1,000 times? Like what, how often is this happening? Like, I don't think it's that common, first of all. And so you're putting something in that is potentially going to harm long-term game preservation to try and save 500 copies or 1,000 copies of games from exploits and jailbreakers, you know, from around the world. I just don't see this as like a super common problem. Maybe I am wrong. Maybe it is super, super common, especially elsewhere in the world. Maybe it's really common overseas and I'm just not familiar with it. But it seems like a very, very niche problem, for one. Two, even if this is totally like, even if you agree that the solution is fine and all of that, I think we can all agree that PlayStation's complete silence on the issue and lack of clarity and transparency is a problem. Like, the fact that this is being left up to internet sleuths to test this stuff is just insane. Like, it really should not be this difficult to find out what the hell is going on with a problem like this. It just seems insane to me. It's the norm to jailbreak in Latin America. Is that true? Do we have people from Latin America that could speak on this? I mean, I know that there's a lot of issues with game pricing, for example, in Latin America, so that wouldn't surprise me. But I think that it just reminds me once more of the Gabe Newell quote on piracy, which is just a fundamental difference in how they deal with it. The easiest way to stop piracy is not by putting anti-piracy technology to work. It's by giving those people a service that's better than what they're receiving from the pirates. There's all sorts of downsides to jailbreaking your console, and not the least of which is massive problems with online, like, server issues, whether you want to play multiplayer games, whether you want to access the store regularly. Like, my understanding is that jailbreaking your console, it's kind of like, you probably should have a backup console effectively. But to be fair, I've not done it myself. But Gabe's approach has always just been like, if somebody is pirating a game, it's because there's some problem they're trying to get around. Like, if somebody is pirating a game, it's because it's so expensive in their native country that it's just prohibitively expensive. And so they want to be able to play the game. They want to be able to participate in the industry, but it is there's a massive problem in the way, a hurdle. So Gabe's approach has just been to, instead of trying to rule with an iron fist, he's like, okay, well, let's figure out what the problem is and just make it way more convenient to be an actual customer and a way better experience. And so we'll effectively put the pirates out of business by way of like competition, which is kind of brilliant. Like treating piracy, which is sort of a way of getting around the marketplace, but combating piracy with a free market approach of just being like, yeah, well, we'll do something even better than they can. And people will choose to work with Steam and use Steam instead of piracy because it's just a better overall experience. We'll put things on deep sales. We'll adjust dynamic pricing for, regional conversion rates to make them more reasonable. So you're not paying effectively $500 for a single copy of a game and stuff like that. And I think that's a much better approach than just trying to rule with an iron fist where you end up punishing people who haven't done anything wrong and maybe just want to be able to preserve their games, just want to be able to not worry about licensing fees. And then the third aspect of all of this is just that I don't tend to find slippery slope arguments particularly compelling because I feel like you can apply it to pretty much everything. Literally anything is a slippery slope. I remember seeing a video from the 70s or 80s? I think it was 80s when they first in the US mandated seatbelts and seatbelts in cars. And I remember seeing a news clipping of it where people were raging, being like, this is a slippery slope towards communism. First, they tell us that we have to pay income taxes, and now they're telling us we have to wear a belt over us while we're driving in America. But before long, they're going to be coming into my house and making sure that all of my furniture is the way they like, I just think you can apply it to everything. But in this case, I think the slippery slope is a valid concern to have, because if Sony sees that they can kind of get away with timed licensing, DRM in their games on their consoles, there is nothing stopping them from making that more aggressive as the years tick by, which I think we all would kind of expect that they probably would make it more aggressive as time goes by. Wallet the Great sent a super chat, says, oh, it is common, specifically jailbreaking and doing these exploits. I live in a third world country, Nigeria, and there are stories that and there are stores that do this regularly here. Almost all of the friends I have get their latest games through this method, says Wallet the Great. That's fascinating. Interesting. Real Serious says it's not much of the norm now in South America, but the Xbox 360 was a super popular console. You could use pirated CDs on it versus with the PS3. The PS2 was and is also huge. That's fascinating. Well, and I guess going back to Gabe's comment, if this is directly a response to like license exploitation with jailbroken consoles in Southern America or in Nigeria, do you really think that like you locking this down is going to lead to those people being able to magically now afford like the ridiculous conversion rate cost of the game? It's like the cost of games in Brazil, for example, is ungodly. And hardware in Brazil is ungodly. Let me just look it up. Let's actually see it. Let's just actually see it. Take a look. Take a look. To USD. Okay. Yeah, it's 7,500 Brazilian real. And according to this calculator, that's about $1,500 for a PS5 Pro. And copies of games are also insane. So do you think like locking down this exploit is magically going to get them? Like going back to Gabe's approach, it's like maybe instead of this, you should just find a way to make the games not ridiculously expensive. Like Maybe that's the solution. Maybe people will buy your games and buy your consoles and not feel the need. Like you should be asking truly, why do people feel the need to go through all of these hoops and to deal with all these hassles of jailbreaking and doing all this stuff through the back door? Why are they doing that instead of just buying it? Is it because they just like, why is that a problem in Brazil, but not in the US? Why is that a problem there, but not in Canada? It seems to me it's probably because the conversion rates and how much you're charging there is ridiculous. And so maybe it's better to just lower the price and lower your margin on it and make it more approachable to those people instead of trying to just brute force it this way. Call me crazy. Call me crazy. Sorry, it started the video. So all of this is going down naturally. There's much debating and gnashing of teeth over it. I think even if you don't seem to find this particularly frustrating or concerning, you should agree that Sony should at the very least be much more transparent with what's going on here. They've been really silent about it, just hoping it blows over. And even if it is just an oopsie, we were trying to fix an exploit and it made all these problems. If they came out and just said, yeah, after the refund period, it'll switch over to a permanent license and that's our commitment that it'll stay there. Like that would be one thing. There'd still be people, frustrated and upset by it because it is, one more step closer to full DRM. But at least there wouldn't be all this confusion. But because they're trying to be so quiet about it, it gives the impression that they're trying to just be sneaky about it, which doesn't feel good. Doesn't feel good. Real Serious says another shout out to Steam because they have recommended regional pricing, which can check on third-party sites to see if it matches the current price. And now we can check the pricing history too. Well, again, it's just that difference in philosophy. It's this idea of, well, we could try to find a way to make our product more viable in that market versus what this effectively is, which is just to lock it down even more. So it's like, hey, people feel the need to steal this product from us. Instead of asking why do they feel the need to steal it, let's address that. And like the root cause, they're choosing to just bypass it and just like, okay, we'll just put them in jail even longer. Like they're just choosing to try and rule with an iron fist instead of understanding the real problem at the core of all of it. So anyway, with all of this kind of laid out on the table, there's still things that are being updated. People are figuring out more and more stuff. Like I said, it's a constantly kind of evolving story because PlayStation is not talking about it. So people are trying to figure it out themselves. As of yesterday, we were at one spot. Now we have a better understanding of it. And it does seem to be specifically something intended to address this exploit from jailbroken consoles. I don't think that magically makes it okay, but it at least explains why it's functioning the way that it is. I still think that PlayStation should disclose it, discuss it. I think that it is certainly a slippery slope. And I think at the end of the day, it fundamentally will not magically fix things for Sony. I don't think you're going to see a super spike in console or in game sales in those markets because those people weren't buying the games to begin with through legitimate means for a reason. It's because they were ungodly expensive where they are because of the conversion rates. It's because the pirates, quote unquote, had a better product for them than the actual marketplace had for them. And instead of taking the Gabe Newell Steam approach of trying to make the marketplace healthier and give them a better product than the pirates, they're choosing to go the opposite way, which I think is bad and stupid and won't actually fix the problem that they're faced with. So yeah. Sony can do whatever they want and get away with it because people are still going to buy GTA 6 on PS5. Well, and like I said at the top, let's be totally honest. If people didn't find out about this through like Twitter and YouTube and all that, they probably would not have noticed. It probably would have kicked up and certainly created a stir where this exploit is used heavily, sure. But I don't think the story would have gone anywhere near as viral because I think a lot of people do have their consoles connected to the internet and are like at least once a month, their console is able to check with the server. So even if it was like the worst case scenario where it doesn't convert to a permanent license after 2 weeks, I still think a lot of people probably wouldn't notice, because the average gamer, again, like we got to back up and remember the games industry is massive. The average gamer is like the Madden, FIFA, Call of Duty, Fortnite, Roblox player. That's the average when you consider the millions and millions and millions of players out there. And those people, yeah, their games are always online. Their games require connections to the internet. So they would have no problem with this. They would never notice an issue. Which is why they can probably get away with it. But as with most things, it's usually not the more casual consumer that creates the most fuss over problematic decisions from companies. Like even things like right to repair. The average consumer is not that upset about right to repair, but they certainly benefit from right to repair being a policy or a mandated policy within certain marketplaces. They end up benefiting from it, even if in the short term they don't particularly care. So the people who are really passionate about this, again, you may not think it's a big deal right now, but in 5 years, in 10 years, when the PS5 is a legacy product, and these games are, eventually the servers will be shut off, just as they were for OG consoles and networks. You'll want to be able to preserve your games and still be able to play them. I mean, imagine in its original form. Again, it looks like now after 2 weeks, it converts to a permanent license. We won't know until 2 weeks have passed fully from when this was put in place, when we can like fully test it without doing without doing the actual battery swap. But I mean, like, imagine if you bought your PS5, it's been sitting in your closet just like my PS4 Pro has, and then I plug it in because it's been disconnected from the internet for more than 30 days, and all of those games are unplayable. And if they shut down the servers, as they've done with many older consoles, you would never be able to validate those licenses, and those games would just be unplayable forever. Even though they're literally installed on your console, it's just unplayable because it can't check with a server that no longer exists. So DRM sucks a poopy, and it's trying to fix a problem that I don't think it's equipped to solve, and I think it's stupid. So yeah, no thanks, I'll just buy on GOG and Steam. Yeah, GOG, they're the goats when it comes to it. I mean, they're even better than Steam is with a lot of the DRM stuff. But yeah, I think, again, PC gaming, hard to beat. So yeah, DRM is all about control and not problem solving. Well, and it's fundamentally a short-term solution. Is like, at the end of the day, that's the core problem. Like even now, like they'll admit with Denuvo, for example, that once it's cracked, they'll remove it. So it is by design a short-term fix. Once it is cracked, meaning they anticipate it getting cracked, they'll remove it. So it is not intended to be a long-term solution. It is something to try, especially at launch, for a week or two when the interest is at its peak, try and discourage or make it impossible to pirate it in a traditional way. And then once it's been pulled out, then they remove it and it's whatever. But it's not a fundamental fix to the actual problem. It's just trying to put up speed bumps, and it's just frustrating. You're going to get cracked, Luke. Lord, forgive me. No. No. Let's see. If Don Walker sells for $80 but gets, I don't know what we're talking about with that. We'll talk about Don Walker in a second. Jacob, thank you for the 5. Hi, Luke. I don't know if you changed your stream settings, but we can't rewind the stream. And also, Blooded Don Walker, 4 out of 10. Too many vampires, probably. Dude, wouldn't surprise me if they were like, too many zombies, too much blood, too many tree branches. And you said you can't rewind in the stream. Auto start 360 video. I think that's DVR. And let me try refreshing. It is, the toggle's grayed out. Yeah, it's, I can rewind. Oh, so some people can, some people can't. Why would some people be able to, but you can't? I can't. Oh, weird. Okay, so some people can and some people can't. That hurts my brain. That hurts my brain. I'll try refreshing again in a minute. Maybe it's just a YouTube thing. That's weird that some people can and some people can't. I don't know. Usually it's Twitch that's having problems. So, love you, Twitch. Twitch, you're great. Love you. Love everyone over there. But usually you guys are like, Twitch is the problem child, usually. The Major also, thank you for the sub over on Twitch, my friend. Thank you. Thank you. Let's see. YouTube Premium. Oh no, you say you have YouTube Premium, you can't. I don't know, man. That gives me a headache. I'll try it again in a minute. We'll see if it's a YouTube problem that just works its way out. Real quick, let's touch on this new segment. Yeah, it's new and it's a segment. That's how you're gonna feel at the end of this. Promise. Promise. Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? I'm ready. So there was another interview done, my friends, from the one and only Kiwi Talks extraordinaire. Does phenomenal interviews with people from across the games industry. Always just so fascinating because it's people that have worked at some of your favorite studios who have insider insight, knowledge of the inner workings of some of these studios. It removes any sort of like, you know how like sometimes you read a gaming news article and you're like, so they talk to the source, but you never know if you're actually getting like the true representation from the horse's mouth of like what actually was going on, because you don't get to see the original source. You get to hear like the journalist's interpretation of the source's opinion of what happened. This removes it because Kiwi Talks actually puts out the interview with the original source so you can actually see what they're saying and how they talk about all of this stuff, and it removes any question. Okay. What is interesting about what we're going to look at here is it is an interview with someone named Heather Curlin, who has worked specifically, this is quite the resume, at Naughty Dog and Bethesda Game Studios. I know. Going from Naughty Dog to Bethesda Game Studios. What? And why that's fascinating to me is because they are just about as polar opposite of studios as I can possibly imagine. Like, very different. And you'll hear that from the outset. Like, one studio is known for hyper perfectionism. They're known for insane fidelity and like motion capture quality and cinematic storytelling and all that. And then there's Bethesda. And so it's very, it's very different. It's very different, but it's going to be fascinating to see how this goes. Okay, it's gonna be fascinating. I will catch up on super chats in just a moment. Thank you guys for those. Let's see what this is. Again, this is Heather and Kiwi Talks. As always, you should absolutely go and sub to Kiwi Talks because the interviews are fantastic. We're not gonna look at like the whole thing. You should absolutely go listen to the whole thing. I just want to show you couple of snippets from this earlier chunk in the interview, and it's absolutely fascinating. So here we go.
To get used to coming from, from EA being, much more micromanaging. So the idea of just being left to my own devices was a very strange shift. But once I got into it, it was like, okay, this is actually really cool.
And then did you have to adjust in your head how it works at Bethesda? Because I imagine they're more a quantity over quality sort of thing, whereas Naughty Dog would give you the time you need to polish something, right?
Quality over quantity is a very PC way of saying that. Yes, that's Bethesda's focused on quantity over quality. That is a good way of saying that. Yes. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, it's definitely very similar mindset, I would say, to EA than Naughty Dog. Naughty Dog was definitely an anomaly in that matter. So when I joined Bethesda, I had to get back into that groove of working closely with producers and that studio is very production driven. They have like, producers over like sub disciplines, and so there's a lot of like work that you have to do to kind of get your schedule managed by a producer, and there's not really a ton of like ownership in your day to day. You just kind of get assigned whatever needs to be done, and you tackle that as a task, and then mark it when it's done, and then the next one kind of rolls down. And even within the like the day to day of, you get assigned a task. If there's a bug or something that comes back with that particular asset, they don't even necessarily reassign it to the artist that originally made it. They just give it to somebody, like whoever happens to be available. So you would often be opening up other people's files and going in and trying to figure out like what the issue is, and you don't have any familiarity with the way that that person set up that file.
A lot of what you're going to hear in the next few minutes is what we've always kind of suspected, but now directly confirmed from somebody that worked there. So, like, for example, how Bethesda is structured is that they have producers that manage the tasks, and those producers have effectively a list of things that need to get done, and they track those through programs like Jira, for example. There's others that are used, but like, task tracking software. And so it might be something like, we need to add in furniture in this building of the map, or we need to go and fix the coding logic for this behavior of this NPC in this quest line or whatever. And they have each of these tasks outlined, and then they get assigned by the producers to somebody on the team. And so, as Heather just alluded to, you'll go through and show up to work one day, find out that this is on your task and you've never touched that thing before, but you got to work on it. You got to fix it. And so it leads to situations where teams don't have like actual ownership of the things they're doing. Everybody's doing like a little bitty bit of something, but nobody is like truly owning specifically what they're doing, because everything is split up and splintered so much. And what's fascinating is that this is very, very different for example, Phantom Liberty. That's it. This we saw with was it DICE? Was it DICE? No. I'm looking for that interview, the talk. Phantom Liberty developer. Maybe it'll pop up here. Is this? No. There was a panel. It was specifically with Gabe, where he was talking about it. Gabe Amatangelo. Here it is. This. So he gave this talk at DICE, and I need the transcript. There we go. And it was specifically when he talked about ownership.
Gameplay, too difficult here, too hard here. So everyone has sort of, and then some of the people on the team might be introverts versus extroverts. And so some of the disciplines might get more weight than others in different things that they were working on. So, of course, how do you manage this? Well, okay, the game director, right? Got to get in there and make sure that, the voices are heard if someone's an introvert, if the writer isn't speaking up and the level designer is, sort of tease it out. If the sort of arc of the character, or we want to set up Songbird to look more empathetic towards the beginning. So spoilers, by the way. If at this point you haven't played, it's too late, right?
Spoilers.
So, spoilers. So if we want to make it that Songbird's more sort of like caring and empathetic to you and your plight, so that she's more believable and trusting, so you don't kind of see that she's kind of behind some of this stuff. Okay, sure. Game director can do that stuff, but at scale. And those of you who've like played the game, just thousands and thousands of design decisions, right? Hundreds per week. It's impossible. So and the game director can be a real big bottleneck. So alignment and ownership. There's a lot going on this page here, and I'll try to. I'm going to take some time with it. So what we did is essentially kind of try to duplicate the game director and empower people to do stuff that the game director would do in different areas. And we kind of had different product areas that we split up, if you will. We had the narrative area, the gameplay area, and World Sandbox, and the art center. We also had some others to deal with specific stuff. And we put a product owner, an area product owner in each one. that then would be able to kind of make those calls. Now, the trick, of course, being is that if one area product owner is making a call and it disagrees, like if the narrative product owner wants to make a call about something with the art or the time of day in the scene, and it kind of conflicts with something that maybe the art director has in mind, alignment. Alignment is a key, right? So you're all kind of on the same page and you understand the pillars and the vision and the intention of different areas. So APO makes calls about the, like a game director, and we might know the what's, like the stuff I explained before, but we got to know like the whys, and we got to get together. So how did we resolve this stuff? Well, the kind of tricks of the trade. We got together and we did sort of jams together. We reviewed things together. And then the APOs would go out and do the actual kind of sprint reviews as the tasks get done. The team started to do stuff and deliver stuff. The APOs would make calls and be able to say, okay, approved, and they can move on with their iteration. And hopefully that APO has the kind of gameplay in mind, the art in mind of the narrative. Same thing with World Sandbox, keeping all that stuff in mind. And that was because before those reviews, we would try to get together and do our reviews together. We'd play games to kind of do comparisons and stuff like that. So, because there's thousands of emergent calls, as I was saying all the time. So this formula, or it's not on the screen, but yeah. So this setup is aspirational and it's sort of illustrative. We weren't always in this form, but the idea was to kind of distribute ownership, empower people, and make sure that we got aligned.
And what's fascinating about all of this is just after, of course, Cyberpunk 2077, it was clear that there was an organizational issue. There was an issue with how the company was set up that allowed that game to pop out the way that it did. And so what they tried to do was create strike teams, to create a layout where individual teams could focus on areas and they could have ownership of those areas where they can basically specialize in that. So they have a team working on this level. They have a team working on this stuff. They have a programmer assigned to that team. They have art direction, narrative people assigned to that. They have basically a director for that individual little team that is aligning with the game director. But it allows those teams, those mini teams, to go out and work very efficiently and have ownership of what they're doing, which is pretty much the polar opposite to how Bethesda works. Bethesda, it seems, is all about a vast array of developers, and they're all assigned stuff dynamically based on what a team of producers assigns them to do that day. And so instead of individual teams, that are specialized, and you just assign these guys, you're going to do Act 1, you're going to do this scene in Act 2, you guys are going to do this scene in Act 3, and doing it that way. They, at Bethesda, just have an army of developers on the lower level, and then they have an army of producers above them, and then a couple of directors like Emil and some of the other people, and then Todd, of course, at the very, very top. And every time that they're assigning tasks, these guys are just going out, and every day it could be different where they're assigning these people to do different things. So it's super fragmented as opposed to being individual teams that can truly specialize. The other aspect of this that's also really, really interesting, Grounded 2, is Naughty Dog's approach is very, very different. So for example, Naughty Dog for years and years didn't have producers. Listen to this.
Control communication, make sure things don't fall through the cracks.
We have no producers at Naughty Dog.
There's so many talented people here that you can rely on and lean on. It makes the game better. And that's really kind of the secret sauce of Naughty Dog, is how collaborative it is.
So they're not showing up, getting assigned something randomly by a producer and working on something they've never worked on before. They have ownership of the thing they're doing, and they specialize in it, and it's obsessive, and they stay and work extra hours to get it done. But again, this is like, it's a fascinating spread where Bethesda, it's all producers, it's extremely task oriented. It's actually structured, as far as I'm aware, very similar to how a lot of software companies just in general work. So like a buddy of mine, he's a software developer for a pretty big manufacturer of PCs and like enterprise software. And all he does is he just works on one tool that's used for, I think it's a debugging tool or something like that. And that's all he does until it's not. And he gets assigned randomly from all over the world to assist on random little crap that he's never touched before. And it's like, hey, we need you to rebuild this database that we have. It's from some team that we work with out of Connecticut, and we just need you guys to rebuild it. You have a week. So they do that, then they go back to working on their program. Then they get called up. They're like, hey, this team in India needs your support work on this. Can you do this? We have 5 days. Okay. And they go off and they do that. And that seems to be how Bethesda works, is that it's very, very splintered, just randomly. You're assigned to do this, go figure it out, whatever. And then you have CD Projekt Red, which is sort of a hybrid of the two extremes, where they do have assignments, they do have producers and stuff, but they tried to build it around teams that still have ownership of what they're doing. They're given the time and resources to get done what they need to do, but they can still work at a large scale. And then you have Naughty Dog, which has historically, after COVID, they tried to change this, and it seems like they kind of went back on it a bit. But historically, they've had no producers, and it's a very flat organizational structure, where if Janice from animation needs something from the programming team, she just gets up and walks over and asks Tom for what she needs. There's no submitting a ticket with a producer, and then the producer has to find a day to assign that to the IT team. And there's none of that. You just literally get up and go over there and talk to them. What about Pearl Abyss? Pearl Abyss, we don't actually know. They've never done, like, as far as I'm aware, clear documentaries on how they build stuff. But clearly, Pearl Abyss, they're focused on efficiency and pumping stuff out. I don't know how they work, but I would love to know. I'd love to find out. So it's a fascinating spread of extremes and then the balance between. But yeah, doesn't this make precise sense with what you know about Bethesda, to hear that it's kind of just like every day, sure, I'll work on that. Yeah. And it creates a game that feels extremely disjointed and like nobody had true ownership over anything.
And even when I joined, they had multiple exporters. So if you didn't have the right exporter, it became really challenging to export everything out with all the same settings without breaking it. So eventually, and that was part of the like big push that I did there, was to like help streamline some of the workflows, so that, you know, the getting an asset to where it's made and then into the engine, that would be simplified and streamlined as much as possible, and continue to improve on that.
So how long did it take you to kind of get into that groove and into that mindset after being at Naughty Dog for so long?
I mean, it's hard to say. I think it was just kind of like a gradual fall into it, but I still think I kind of struggled with it. Although I will say I was in a more unique scenario than I think most of the like artists there at Bethesda. I was specifically hired to put together essentially a layered material pipeline for the artists. So I was one of the only artists or anybody at the studio that had used a layered materials system. That was, you know, essentially what we had, something similar to what we had at Naughty Dog. They knew that they were in the process of rebuilding the renderer for Creation Engine. They were wanting to rebuild all these new systems across gameplay, art, engineering. You know, they were going through and updating the engine.
And then they learned about DLSS 5. Turns out you don't need any of that. You just turn that on. It's great. Don't need to do much of anything. It's fantastic. I can see Todd now. He's like, what? Why are we doing all this? Did you see DLSS 5? Todd, don't say it. Don't say it. Don't say it. I'm going to say it. All of it? You know what?
All of this just works.
all of it just works, man. All of it just works. Real serious, thank you for that. It sounds like CD Projekt Red system allows ideas to flow up to management more, while Bethesda seems more like ideas flowing down from management thing, which ... tracks. Yeah, I think it's fascinating to me to just see how something as broad as the organizational structure can have such a tangible and significant impact on the end product. Just literally how you have things set up can make or break a project and lead to good ideas being found and discovered and harnessed and harbored and polished up, and ideas being lost and forgotten because nobody has time to offer feedback or brainstorm cool new ideas and concepts because they're just trying to keep up with the producer's schedule, you know? So it's a game of telephone. I think for a lot of studios, it can turn into that. But it also can just turn into busy work and checking off boxes. And we've heard other interviews and other panel discussions with like that one from Will Shen, where he mentioned how as a senior, what was his official title? I think it was senior quest designer. He said he spent a huge amount of his time making tutorials with OBS on how to use the tools. Like the idea that you have a senior like questing designer making tutorials on how to use the creation, that's insane. Like that's outrageous. But that's you know, it's a testament to the inefficiencies.
So part of my role there was working with I mean, I think over the span of time, it was like maybe 15 to 16 engineers that came on and off that particular project. But it was building an entire like layered material system from scratch that all the artists across all art disciplines would end up utilizing, everything from like characters to environments to VFX, and kind of building the foundation for that with engineers, and then working with the leads from each of those sub art departments to make sure that their needs were met and considered while we were building out the foundation for that. So I operated kind of outside of the typical production chain, just because that was this kind of, I don't know, one-off like strike team that existed. And for the longest time, they didn't have a producer working on that strike team, but I still would have to kind of coordinate with like engineering producers to make sure that like if there was some issues or like a new feature that needed to go in at that time was getting scheduled. So I still had to kind of like, even though I may have not been like my role kind of mapped into the typical production chain within the Starfield like production, I still had to kind of work around it. And that was one of the things that they sold me on. They're like, we know it's going to be different coming from Naughty Dog because we heard that you don't have producers, which is crazy.
I just choke on my own throat. We know it's going to be different. We know you're coming from Naughty Dog, and we do things a little different here. I'm sure it was an adjustment. I'm sure. I also, what is so funny to me is that like the people involved in game development that I've talked to, they've always described like producers and the producer team, or producer role rather, as specifically being something that is designed to not just protect the employees from like overwork, but it's also, in theory, supposed to increase efficiency. Like you're supposed to get more done faster and better if you have a healthy production like pipeline, because you can assign tasks more dynamically, get stuff done faster, instead of projects being like left sitting on the side waiting for somebody to see it and grab it. You have people specifically assigning stuff. So in theory, you should be able to get more done faster. What's fascinating is it seems like as Bethesda has grown and utilized producers more and more, it has led to a decrease in efficiency and output, which is fascinating to me. Like it's just so fascinating how it seems to be achieving the opposite end, which is hilarious. You know, it's so funny.
We're gonna have producers, you're gonna, you know, it'll be a little bit different. So you know, I'm not gonna lie, it was definitely an adjustment for me, but I think it gave me a really good balance of kind of understanding where teams are most effective, like where you can put a little bit of like structure.
Are we still live? Did my power go out? I think we're still live. I think we're on the battery backup. Hold on. Let me see. I can check. We're live. We're here. That's so weird. Let me check the app with the battery backup. Hold on. Yeah, it looks like the thing tripped, but this means the battery backup is working. I don't know why this light turned off, but those are still on, so that's confusing. But I'm a little confused, but it means things are working, not the way I thought they would. but they are basically working. So 1 second, I think I know how to potentially fix this in theory. And I think I can fix it in less than a minute if my investments have paid off. Okay. Let's try this. Okay. Give me 1 second. I'm going to try to fix it. That's fascinating. Okay. Well, 1 second. I'll be right back. I'll play a song for you.
Players booting up, excited to see what Todd and crew brought from PC. Dual sense buzzing in hand. This ship's about to land. Game loads in, what a surprise. Can't believe I believed those lies. The game runs great, I'm losing myself. Todd blessed it like a Holy Ghost, but then it crashed, Starfield crash, PS5 or Pro, it don't matter. Todd's work will surely shatter all hopes and dreams without delay. Breaking hearts, but he'll still run away with your money, your hopes, your dreams, and then Starfield will just go and crash again. It crashed, Starfield crash, PS5 or Pro, it don't matter. Todd's work will surely shatter.
Okay, here we are. We're back. It worked. Better have spent enough on it. Starfield crash. Okay. Okay. Back to what we were doing. I forgot what I was saying, but yeah, anyway, continuing on. Here we go.
Structure and pressure, but the kind of underlying philosophy being that, developers have autonomy over what they're doing.
What do you find is similar or different between, say, the Creation engine versus the Naughty Dog engine?
This is the question we've all been wondering. We all have passionate feelings about the Creation engine, do we not? Man, I wonder why Todd hates you. As I've always said, it's like, dude, if I found out there was some dude out there with a cardboard cutout of me who lit candles with my face on it, I would also be like, keep him away from me. I would feel the same way. So, there is no doubt. I don't blame him at all. This is weird, but it's fun. I think we all have fun. It's all in good fun, Todd. Praise be. But yes, this is a very valid question, and it's one we've all been wondering. I mean, you are again looking at two of the most, I think a lot of us would assume, polar opposite companies and engines and tool sets in the industry. I mean, we are looking at Naughty Dog, known for amazing cinematic quality and high production value. Oh, this candle's almost done. Look how low it is. And then you have the Creation engine. So this is going to be fascinating. So asking directly, Heather, you've worked with both. What's different? What's the same? How do you compare them?
Oh man, that's a hard one. I mean, Bethesda's engine is specifically created for big open worlds, right? Streaming in lots and lots of data. Unreal Engine initially was not built that way, and they've been trying to add tools and create systems that allow that to happen. And they're still pretty early in their infancy, and they have their issues, right? So like, I think what Unreal is trying to do is add systems that bring it closer to what Bethesda's engine does. But, Bethesda's engine was built from the ground up with that kind of workflow and that type of game in mind, whereas Unreal is, at its core, a shooter engine. So,
Did he ask specifically? I thought he asked about the Naughty Dog's engine, but I guess she's asking, or he asked about Unreal. What is fascinating is that it's true, Bethesda's engine was built for a very particular type of game. And it is true that the Creation engine can do things that many other engines can't do. It can do like physics simulation on hundreds of objects in one space, in one cell that's been loaded in. It can do a lot of stuff, but it's also been built for a very particular type of game. And specifically the the Bethesda style open world game that is segmented by load screens. That is what it was built for, which is why people who are like, well, just remove the load screens, just go fully seamless. It just doesn't work that way. It's not built to work that way. And maybe they've been doing overhauls on it since Starfield, listening to the feedback to try and fix that. But it's my understanding, speaking to modders, because I had the privilege of speaking to a number of modders who have tried to do work for Starfield. And they were like, it is what it is. You know, it is what it is. It's like trying to change a marble sculpture into a brass one. Like, it just doesn't work. That's not what it is, you know? So you can't treat it the same way. They're just different. And that just, it is what it is.
From like an architecture standpoint, very, very different. But the Unreal is trying to get closer to that philosophy of like open world games, being able to stream large amounts of data in and out seamlessly. So it's getting there, but it's I would say that Unreal still has quite a ways to go on that side of things. And then Bethesda's, I think their strengths are really where like designers don't need to know how to program. Like, they don't have to be programmers. There's just like forms that you fill out that you kind of link together in certain ways that create, functionality that they need. Whereas, if you're even with like any kind of, like node-based scripting language inside of Unreal, you still have to understand logic and understand a lot of different like technical principles in order to like utilize it in a way that isn't going to be cause issues with performance.
It's what I've heard a lot about the creation engine, is that it is very approachable. Like, the old school like benefit and one of the strengths of Bethesda was that they didn't have a lot of like strictly programmers, strictly quest designers, strictly like engineers. They would just have members of their team. So, they had programmers who were building quests, and they had people building quests that were also building environments. And then they had people doing this that were also doing artwork and animation for the game. So everybody was wearing a bunch of different hats back in like the Oblivion days and Fallout 3 days. And again, it increased collaboration. And that was one of the strengths of the tool set, was that it didn't require you to have dedicated departments to get stuff done. Whereas more, maybe more specialized tool sets might require you to have more know-how specifically for what you want to do.
Yeah, and they make completely different games as well, right? So I can understand why certain things within the engine would be prioritized over other things. Yeah.
And another big one is with modding. So, Unreal.
Yeah, of course.
Is something that like they didn't have that built in from the very, very beginning, but with like Bethesda's, and a part of the reason why they, there was some internal discussion around whether they were going to switch to Unreal or if they were going to like keep. There was a lot of pressure internally to like push to Unreal, especially when like Nanite and Lumen and all these like amazing features were coming out. Like, people were like, why don't we just use Unreal? But the real like reason that Bethesda pulls on to Creation Engine is because of all of the like modding capabilities and the entire modding community that's built around those tools and those systems. It would make a whole lot of sense for Bethesda to switch over to any other engine, because they've already built up a whole community that sustains, the success of their titles. So, yeah.
They are kind of between a rock and a hard place. I think, let's be honest, I think even if they didn't have the modding scene, I still don't think they would change engines. Like, as Heather even alluded to, they have full-time engineers building like, layered material systems that they didn't have before. Like, they are doing all of this work specifically to try and build out the engine and make it more specialized. And it's true, when you do have your own engine, it is something that separates you. Like, it is. Look at freaking Crimson Desert, dude. Crimson Desert, that is as true to form as a proprietary engine as you can possibly get. There is no other engine on the planet that could run Crimson Desert in the way that it is. It's outrageous. It's super crazy and powerful. And I think that's what Bethesda wants to have with the Creation Engine, is one of those engines where people see it and like, only Bethesda could have made this game. But instead, what kind of happened is now, at least in the wake of Starfield, everything is framed around, only Bethesda could have made this game. It's like any other engine would have been way better. It's kind of achieved the opposite end of what I think their goal was. But that's why, it's been a concern of mine. Has just been that I'm worried that Bethesda is not actually listening or absorbing critical feedback, because at least public facing, everything is always diverted away. Everything's always pivoted away. You express frustration over no Fallout game in 20 years by the time we get the next one. And Todd tells you to suck it up basically and go play Fallout 76. And there's never any actual response. Like, hey, a lot of people didn't find Starfield particularly compelling. And Todd's like, well, a lot of people did. A lot of people did love it. It's like, oh, okay. But like, if we can't actually engage with those frustrations and the feedback, like what are we're not going to make any progress. So my fear and concern has just been that a lot of the very, very legitimate concerns and problems people have with like the creation engine will be cast aside because they'll be dismissed along with the complaints over, like, I don't know, people finding space traversal boring. And it's like, no, like it's 2026, constant load screens. Back then it was 2023, but constant load screens when other open world games don't have that problem. That seems like a hurdle you should overcome. I hope they're listening to that feedback and they're actually like trying to act on it. Because one of the easiest W's they could possibly get with Elder Scrolls 6 is if Todd could get on stage and say, and we've eliminated load screens when going into buildings entirely. Even though that should be like the bare minimum. Even though that is and has been for like a decade plus for most open world games, that is like assumed. For them, that would be a massive W because it has not been something they've been able to achieve yet. And I think a lot of the way Todd frames and markets games is around a couple of those big beats, those kind of one-liners that can go viral, that he's very, very good at. And surely he knows that would be such a W if they could get on stage and actually say that. But whether or not, it ends up being something they can actually deliver on, remains to be seen. Rewind gate. Yeah, some people are saying they can rewind. Some people are saying they can't rewind. The DVR button is grayed out for me, so I don't know what's happening. I don't know why it would work for some people and not for others. We've never had that happen before, so I'm not transparently. I'm not sure what's happening.
Now you did like an insane crunch on Uncharted Lost Legacy, right?
Yeah, I would say that was probably one of my worst crunches.
How long was it? Or how intense was it?
Well, so that originally was supposed to be a DLC. The way that it was initially pitched was that it was going to be a DLC. And so I think at the time they had mapped like 9 months to finish this DLC. And then at some point, like a bunch of people went on vacation after Uncharted 4 shipped.
Fair. They crunched for like 2 years. Yeah, YouTube's DRM.
The timing here, but a bunch of people went off on vacation. A few of us that didn't take vacation right out of the gate stuck around, and that was including the modeler I worked with on Uncharted and Uncharted Lost Legacy. We decided we wanted to jump right into like building, kind of getting first pick at building something, because we figured, well, we're here, we'll just start building stuff, and we'll get first dibs on whatever level we think is the coolest. And at the time, the game was actually supposed to be like it was pitched to be in China, somewhere in China, and so we started building out all these temples and that were like Chinese temples.
I didn't know that.
Having a lot of fun with like new techniques, new workflows, and just having a good time with it. And then about a month or two in.
Sorry, I can't get past that. Lost Legacy in China would have been baller, dude. I wonder if we'll ever see that. I wonder.
They pivoted to having the setting in India. So we're like, all right, well, I guess we're pivoting to a very different look with the temples that we were prototyping out. And so, we kind of ended up losing a couple months off of that schedule because of that pivot. And then once they started realizing that the scope of Lost Legacy was comparable to like the first Uncharted, somewhere between like the first and second Uncharted, they were like, oh, maybe we should be pitching this as like, or like marketing this as like a standalone title. And so that's what they did. They kind of pivoted to, now it's a standalone title, but they didn't extend the deadline significantly to like make up for that. So we were all just like killing ourselves to
Why? So it was pitched and originally supposed to be a DLC, grew into a standalone game, but they didn't give them more time. So yeah, you were making a DLC, now make a full game in the same amount of time. It was also, wasn't it only like a year later? I think it was. I think it was like 2017, wasn't it? Yeah. So it launched August 22nd of 2017. And Uncharted 4 launched May of 2016. So just a bit over a year, they had to throw that together. Of course, they had done some work, I'm sure, before the launch of Uncharted 4, but not a ton. I mean, all hands on deck for Uncharted 4. But that's insane. This is also why, like we've said, it feels like output has plummeted post-COVID. And I genuinely think a lot of it is because a lot of studios, when people started working from home, you literally, you couldn't crunch anymore because they're not in the studio. So even if you wanted to crunch with your employees, you just couldn't because people would just log off and go to bed. You know, like you can't. So once work from home became a standard, crunching was not really feasible anymore. Even if they wanted to, you couldn't really do it. And so efficiency, quote unquote, dropped and plummeted because all of a sudden, you know, you could only get 40 hours a week out of an employee because that's all they were hired to do. Whereas prior to COVID, you could crunch for, 80 hours a week with an employee because they're in the studio and you ask them to stay till 10 p.m. And if you don't, like, you're allowed to not stay till 10 p.m., but everyone you work with is staying till 10 and you want to be a team player, don't you? And stuff like that. So I really, really think in the wake of lockdowns and working from home, that's a large reason why a lot of these studios' output plummeted. And it's because crunch had been the normal for so long. But all of a sudden there was this hard reset. And so teams and companies were only able to get 40 hours a week out of employees they previously could get 80 to 100 hours a week out of. So literally, I mean, it would take twice as long to get the same work done.
Why would they not do that? Why would they not extend the deadline? Was there a particular reason that they told you?
Well, they did end up extending it by like 5 weeks, I think, at the end. But they don't, they don't tell you until you get right up on it. And then they're like, oh, somebody give us, 5 more weeks or whatever. Instead of like right out of the gate, like acknowledging that, okay, maybe.
Well, because if you know that you have 5 weeks more, 6 months ahead of time, you're not going to crunch until the last 4 weeks. But if you think you're running out of time, you're going to crunch for 4 weeks. And then at the end of the last week, you find out we got another 5 weeks. So then you get another 5 weeks of crunch out of them. So you just double dip on it. Like, I guarantee you that's part of the reason they do this.
We were thinking about the scope of this incorrectly and we scheduled it incorrectly. Instead, they just kind of let the team assume that it's coming out when they said it's coming out. So we're all like, scrambling. And I had actually like requested time off at the end of that production when it was supposed to end. And it was approved and everything. I had bought the flight and we get right up to the last minute. And I'm like questioning whether I should go on this trip. And, the modeler I was working with and my lead was like, no, just go on the trip. But I felt like I was not in a good spot, like with the work that needed to get done. And so it was just incredibly stressful time when I was like, just like contemplating, like maybe I won't go on the trip. I'll just stay and like, continue cramming on these things. And it's, I came back from that trip and they were like, oh, they moved the date again. They just kept moving the goalpost and it was, we were like, everybody was stretched so thin on that project and they had kept the typically they'll bring the whole team over to help out with, like, if they have two teams working on two different products, the team that's coming to the, to the tail end of shipping a game, they'll bring some of the folks from the other game to come over and help out and just like get it over the finish line. But for whatever reason, they didn't do that. They kept the folks that are working on The Last of Us 2 on that project, and they just had everybody continue push forward with Lost Legacy. So that was another thing that I felt contributed to the the kind of intense crunch that had happened, to bring over like folks to help out.
It's just so crazy. Like, as far as I'm aware, Naughty Dog is probably the most intense when it comes to crunch, or at least historically has been, that we know of. Because let's be totally real. Like, I have it on very good authority that like Crimson Desert, after launch, we all know they were pumping out updates at a ridiculous pace, right? It was like shocking. I have it on good authority. There were like people sleeping at the studio. Like, when people said that they were like working around the clock, that was not a turn of phrase. Like, they meant people were there working around the clock, like going crazy to get the work done for that game and to get the updates out. And I think it's interesting because of course I've worked in big boy jobs, like when I was in real estate, where crunch was also expected. It was not a creative venture like this, but it was expected that you would be working 18-hour days. Like, that's what it was expected. It was expected that you would also work on the weekends as well. But it was seen as that is the cost of you getting to be here. Like, if you want that seat at that desk, which thousands of people would kill for, you're going to work your ever-loving ass off, because this is what it takes to be exceptional. This is what it takes to be the best and to have this opportunity. And they were right that if you walked away, somebody else the next day would come in and take that seat and would work 18 hours and would work on the weekends. And I'm sure it's true of these world-class studios as well. Anybody would kill to have a Naughty Dog game on their resume. And that, especially because if you work on something at Naughty Dog, you're probably going to get nominations for Game of the Year. And, it's a big deal. It's a big deal. So I think I've seen people in chat, they compare it to like, it's a very American thing, like a North American thing, crunch. But I've seen it happen with like Eastern devs as well. Like I said, Korea, Chinese devs do it a lot. Japan, it's pretty common, it seems, as well. So maybe it's just that it's very much not a European thing. I don't know. But it is fascinating how varied it can be. Because some studios, they don't crunch, they don't worry about it, and it's whatever. And they're just chill. They get it out when they get it out. Other studios, it seems like it's always panic time for months and months on end. Like, apparently at Rockstar, they also have had a company culture of a lot of crunch. It's tough to say exactly what it's like because Rockstar is way more secretive than even Naughty Dog. Naughty Dog is secretive, but Rockstar is on another planet when it comes to like how like hush hush and lockdown everything is. So we don't know exactly how it works there, but it's understood that those people are crunching and working overtime for years even. So it's just fascinating. I will say I've been to some studios where I don't think crunch is that. I don't think it's a thing. Like, I think, no joke, I don't know this for a fact. I haven't spoken to anybody who works on this particular team, but it seemed pretty cushy. At one point I was at a studio or at a place for Ubisoft, and they had like all sorts of different teams that work on different stuff there. They've got people working on Assassin's Creed, on Far Cry, on For Honor, on Just Dance, on whatever, like you name it, they just all work on stuff. And it seemed to me like the Just Dance guys, I think they had it pretty chill, because it didn't seem like there was ever like that much hustle. Like, I don't think anybody is demanding that the next Just Dance update be revolutionary. Like most of the people playing that are probably like, you know, middle-aged moms and like people that just got back from Jazzercise. Like I don't know the demo, but I don't think it was that crucial that they like crunch and put 90 hours a week in to get the latest update with the Lady Gaga song out. Like it seemed like that was pretty chill. So I think some teams out there are very chill and it's not at all a crunch environment, but there are clearly some teams where that's just the normal. That's the expectation, is that you're going to work your ever-loving ass off, and that's how you get here. They just danced. They also this is apparently a common thing in like northern Canada in office buildings. It's common to like not wear shoes in the office. Like you walk in and you put your boots on the shoe rack, and everybody in the office is just in their socks. I didn't realize that was like a normal thing, but apparently it's a normal thing in northern Canada. I didn't know, but apparently that's normal. I had never heard of it before, but I was like, what is that a thing? And they're like, yeah, no, I used to work across the street. We did it there too. I worked at a bank and we did it there. I was like, I can't fathom that in America, but apparently in like some niches of Canada, that's normal. At least that's what they told me. Hayden, thank you for the 10, but isn't it just getting the job done by a deadline? I do that at my job, and sometimes I have to work more than 12 hours for several days to get something done. Pace can be slow first, then bam, go time. Yeah, well, I think the at least to me, the problem comes with whether or not it's moderated. Like crunch happens in every career, in every job, if you want to be exceptional. If you just want to do the 9 to 5, clock in, clock out, there are jobs for you, but you probably are never going to like climb the ladder. You're never going to do anything that's like truly industry leading. Like if you want to be industry leading, you're going to have to work more than the other guys. If you want to compete with the best of the best, you got to compete against the guys that are working 18 hours. You know, that was how it was always framed in real estate too, which was that if you want to truly be exceptional, you have to be more exceptional than the other guy who is willing to work 18 hours and is willing to work on the weekends. How are you going to get more deals than that guy? How are you going to convince his clients that you're a better fit when he works harder than you? How do you do that? And with like game development, I think it's a similar thing where it's like, how are we going to separate ourselves from these other studios? How are we going to do that? Unless we just work way, 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 way harder to the point where it breaks us. And so I think that there's to me, crunch is just a fact of life. And when you want to work in an industry and be the best in what you do, there's going to be times of crunch. The problem is when crunch goes on for like 6 months straight, when crunch goes on for a year. And because at that point, it's not crunch. You're just being paid for 40 hours, but being asked to work 80. You know, that's when it's not the same. If you're being paid to work 80 hours and you accept those terms, that's fine. Everybody has the right. If I want to take a job where I work 100 hours, like people who work in residence and are in residency becoming like a doctor, they went into that knowing that was the agreement. Nobody's complaining about crunch culture in a hospital, you know, like that. It's just expected that that's what you're going to do. You're going to do like a 12-hour shift and that it's going to be miserable, but that's what you're doing. A buddy of mine is going through that process, working on becoming a surgeon. It's just how it is, but he went into it knowing that that's what he was signing up for. The problem is if you go and you get hired at a studio, you agree to work 40 hours and then they have you work 120 hours. You know, that's a problem.
So yeah, I would say that at least for me personally was one of my worst crunches, and that's saying something because I certainly crunched really hard on the other projects as well.
Yeah, I believe it. Wallet, great. Thank you for that one. How did toxic workplaces manage to produce better games compared to what we have now? LMAO, crazy times we live in. Crazy how countries with less workers' rights seem to be the guys on top now. I think with a lot of this stuff, it comes down to just pure labor. Like within game development, there is a lot of creative choices. There's a lot of direction choices that lead to a higher quality product, but there's also just functional like labor demands. There's things that require a certain number of hours to get done. And if you're like, if you have 200 people in Maryland or in San Francisco and you have to pay them all a lot in order for them to put in, let's say 5,000 hours worth of work, that team is at a disadvantage compared to the company like a Rockstar, which has 1,600 employees in India, that they are paying literal pennies on the dollar to do the same work. Because like with like QA stuff, with brute forcing animations and stuff like that, the team in India is going to do a phenomenal job. There's amazingly talented people there, and they're going to do it way, way cheaper. And you can hire a lot more people. So just raw brute force, the actual like man hours going into a task, can be scaled up way more in those other places where either labor is cheaper or crunch is allowed, or both, you know? And so there just becomes this competitive advantage to either being able to work for cheaper or more, or both. And that's why I think in the next decade, the real challenge for like Sony first party studios is not going to come from Western studios that are starting to compete more. It's going to come from Eastern studios, from some of these studios that previously have not really competed, because like Pearl Abyss, we saw with Pearl Abyss, they have a team that worked their ass off and are able to build a game bigger than anything Ubisoft or EA or BioWare or any of these other previous kings of open world games. Like they're able to pump something out even bigger and crazier and more mind-blowing, and they can do it faster and more dynamically and cheaper. And there's just, at some point, the math breaks, and that's kind of where we're at.
Yeah, and I'm assuming here, but when you went on holiday, you couldn't really relax because you were just thinking about the crunch and letting your team down in the back of your mind?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Well, that's the powerful thing about crunch. Like, the companies will always say, well, we don't mandate crunch. You don't have to work 80 hours. But you start to feel bad for your coworkers because you're leaving more stuff on their plate if they don't give up on the crunch. You also believe in the project. You've been working on it for years. You don't want to see it fail. So you want to make sure you hit the deadline and it's good. So there's all this peer pressure. And then there's the other aspect of it too. I've told the story before where, like, when I was working in real estate, it was understood that the boss, the guy that owned the firm, really genuinely very nice guy. But he would come, and around 7 p.m. he would do a walk around the whole building. He'd get up from his desk in his office, and he would come and walk through the building slowly, make a little small talk at your desk, and then keep walking. And it was understood that if he went on his 7 o'clock walk around and you were not at your desk, there's a little mental note. I guess Luke doesn't want it as bad as Isaac, who stayed here and is still at his desk, still working, still cold calling. I guess Luke doesn't want it as much, you know? So Luke's allowed to go home to his wife, you know, and his expectant wife who's pregnant. He can do that, sure. But I'll know that he's not as, like, he doesn't want this as much as the other guy. And so it's this thing where, like, if you want to excel and you want to do well, they're not saying you have to stay and work more, but it's going to help. It's going to help. And that's all of those kind of dynamics play into this, which is how companies can often get more work out of you without having to pay you more, you know?
Yeah.
You can talk to my spouse about that. She remembers clearly. I was texting.
Yeah. Can you imagine trying to have a family while you're expected to work 80 hours a week or more on a project, and you don't even know when it's going to happen because you might do that for 4 weeks, and then you hit that deadline and they're like, actually, we just got 5 more weeks. Good luck. See you in 5 weeks. And then you got to keep going. Imagine for 2+ months, you're basically never at home.
I was texting the modeler that I worked with just to like check in and see how things are going. Like, you know, and he's like, stop texting. Like, there's nothing you could do right now. Like, just try to enjoy your time. And yeah, so it certainly made it difficult when I was just feeling anxious and felt like I shouldn't be on vacation. I should be there like with the team. So
yeah. I saw your work on the Shiva Temple on your art station, which looks amazing, by the way. But how do you go about working on stuff like that? I guess you just look at reference footage, like a lot of...
This is genuinely a really fascinating bit where they discuss like how they actually build out assets and stuff. It's genuinely amazing because you may think that all those little things are just like thrown together quickly. Like, no, they manually go and do crazy stuff. One interesting thing with this as well, where did it go? Another little interesting tidbit, just to touch on this, there is a fascinating little tidbit in here about how even within Naughty Dog, a lot of people were not happy about the choice with Joel in The Last of Us Part 2. Again, you should listen to this whole interview. It's fascinating. But this was also another piece that stood out to me that I want to highlight.
Was there any feeling within the studio at the time that Last of Us Part 2 was going to be controversial?
Oh, yeah. yeah. Most of the studio is like, really? You're going to... well, spoilers, right? Like,
yeah.
Yes. I think the studio is pretty split on, like, the outcome of what happens. Yes, absolutely. It was controversial internally too. So
I guess
I think there was drama. I think there was drama. Shocker. I mean, people always just assume that everybody's on board if it's what's happening at the studio, but no, dude, they love these characters too.
Super chat. For me personally, I guess I just see it different. I work 700 miles away from my family for 14 days at a time, then drive home and get to spend a days off before it starts again. It sucks, sure.
It cut off. It sucks, sure, but it's my job. Yeah, and I think for me, it's always there's a gap between. I've seen this before. There's a gap between like what somebody's ideal is and what the reality of life is, and also at the end of the day, I think it's what you agree to. Like my ideal, and I'm sure yours too, Hayden, would be, yeah, I would love it if I got to work 7 miles away from my family instead of 700, and it would be great if I only had to work for a day and you had all the money you needed and you were comfortable and you were doing great, you know. That's the ideal, of course. Sorry, Romeo hears me through the window, and so he's like, "Dad, I'm helping, Dad." Sorry, I don't know if you can hear it, but Romeo's barking. But I think that there's the aspect of it where it's like the ideal versus what's realistic. We don't live in an ideal situation, and you probably never will. And so even if our ideal is that you could pump out a masterpiece that is profitable and financially viable, and you could do that working just 30 hours a week, you take Fridays off, and everybody goes on multiple vacations through the year, and you know, you pump it out within 3 years and everybody loves it, sells 10 million copies and you're all rich. That would be the ideal. It's not reality. So there's always going to be a gap between those two things. And furthermore, it's what you agree to. When you to me, Naughty Dog has always seemed to have this reputation for excessive crunch, but exceptional products. So you go into it knowing that when you go work at Naughty Dog, you're going to crunch, you're going to work your ass off, and you're going to be stretched really thin, but you're going to ship a product that's probably nominated for Game of the Year, that probably, you know, gets amazing financial returns, and you're going to do well for yourself. It's going to look great on your resume. So you kind of know what you're getting going into it. In the same way, if you go work if you go work on like an oil rig in the middle of the ocean, you understand it's risky. You're far away from your family. You're doing long days, but you're making good money. Same with like, did you guys ever watch that show Deadliest Catch? Dude, I love Deadliest Catch. Freaking love it. But Deadliest Catch is a great example of people that like go and are miserable for the crabbing season, but they make really good money and then they get out, you know? And they know what they're getting into. Like, I don't think any of those crab fishermen are complaining about crunch. You know, I think they know what they're getting into. And so to a certain extent, if you're an adult and you agree to the terms of engagement at that point, yeah, I mean, you knew what you were getting into. That's just part of the job at that point. It's dude, I love Deadliest Catch. I love it so much. Anyway. So yeah, I think it's always just that balancing act between the two, and it is a difficult balance to strike for sure. I think what's fascinating is in the wake of COVID, pre-COVID, there was never an impetus to force a cleansing of crunch culture in the games industry, at least in the West. And so it was just the norm for a very long time, but it was something people always wondered, can we just get rid of crunch and the industry be healthy? And COVID kind of forced it, because like I said, when people start working from home, you just disconnect at 5 p.m. Like the peer pressure elements kind of go away. You're already only working with your coworkers remotely, so there's less of that direct pressure. And it also, like, it forced all sorts of delays on everything because nobody knew how to work remote in the way that they needed to. So there were all sorts of new processes put in place. So it kind of was a hard reset on a lot of game development. And what's been very, very clear in the last 6 years is that output changes when you shake up the company culture like that. I think Naughty Dog has also expressed that they wanted to get rid of crunch culture. They said that in the Grounded 2 documentary, and they hired producers, which they didn't previously have. They tried to do all of that stuff. But recent reporting from Insider Gaming says that in December, they were crunching again. And they were getting rid of some producers because they needed to get the demo done by the end of December. So they were crunching again. So they kind of went back to how they used to do things. And it's my understanding that internally, some people at Naughty Dog are now expressing that it's just what their company is. It's just the company culture to make the games they want to make. They've realized they just kind of have to do the crunch stuff. It sucks, but they just have realized the experiment of no crunch led to games not getting put out and delays and all sorts of missed deadlines. And so they just decided to kind of return to what they were doing before. So I think, we're getting an adjustment, but more than anything, like what's ultimately going to drive these adjustments is going to be the executives and the competition. Because like I said, Eastern studios and some of these really hungry studios out of Korea, out of China, out of Japan, they have no problem crunching and forcing their employees to work 100 hours, and they can pay them way less because of how it works, in a big Chinese game development studio with 3,000 employees. They can work more, harder, faster, and cheaper. And that competition is going to give these teams like a real run for their money. And I think that's when they'll start sweating, and Sony's going to start putting stricter deadlines, and that's going to force crunch whether they like it or not. And I think it's all going to come back personally. Again, not my ideal. If I was the God King of gaming, I would not have it work that way. But I'm just saying what I think is probably going to happen in the industry is that it's going to make a full comeback.
But was traveling, and then when I got
I should set this up. This subtitle, I just wanted to show you this one. This is a chapter titled "Todd Howard is a Neil Druckmann fanboy." Bet they like to talk about watches.
Todd, while you were there at all, or no?
Yeah.
Oh, let me run.
It's a sandbox, so you kind of make what you want of it.
Yeah. Did you meet Todd while you were there at all, or no?
Yeah. Todd was
Todd
apparently was supposed to be in my interview, but was traveling, and then when I got
Damn it, Todd. The disrespect is crazy. I'll let it go this time. Damn it, Todd.
back, he ran into me in the hallway and knew who I was, and I was like, "Oh, hi." He's like, said that I don't know, he wanted to go to lunch, so it was like me, my art director, our like senior producer, and Todd all went out to lunch. I don't know, after I'd been there for a week, and he actually was asking me a lot of questions about what it was like to work with Neil.
You know what this is giving me vibes of? This is like a weirdly deep cut, okay? Sorry, not sorry. Weirdly deep cut. But for some reason, it makes sense to me, okay? It just does. So one thing, again, bear with me because it seems like a stretch, but it makes sense in my brain, okay? Apparently, Michael Jackson was like a huge diehard fan of Britney Spears. Like, it was a problem. Like, he would ask his friends about Britney Spears. He was totally encapsulated by her found her fascinating and wanted to know what she was like in person and how they worked together. And so finally, like, they did this performance together. It was like a whole thing. But apparently he was fascinated by her, even though he's Michael freaking Jackson and he is like king of pop, massive. He was totally captivated by her and just fascinated. And so to hear that Todd Howard, who's Todd Howard, is really fascinated about Neil Druckmann, it's just funny because it's like, it's Todd Howard. It's Todd Howard. And Neil, you know, he's relatively new to the industry at this point. You know, he really had a breakout with The Last of Us, and then he did Uncharted 4. I think Heather was working at BGS, you know, on Starfield stuff. So we're probably talking after Lost Legacy, like 2018, 19, 2020, around there. So like pre Last of Us Part 2 even. And so it's just fascinating. It's fascinating. But anyway, going back, Michael Jackson, Britney Spears energy. That's all I'm saying.
He actually was asking me a lot of questions about what it was like to work with Neil. Because I got the sense that he kind of either idolized Neil or wanted to kind of understand his process or something like that. So that was it took me by surprise because I was like, oh, okay. So kind of, I don't know, felt like he was a bit of a fanboy on Neil Druckmann, which was interesting. And then, you know, come to find out that like I don't know if like the Fallout series discussions were happening at that point, but I'm pretty sure that like the HBO show had already shipped or had been announced or something like that. So I think there was a little bit of like,
gave him the
I don't know,
idea.
maybe it's competition. I'm not sure what it was, but he was just asking a lot of questions of like what it was like working with Neil and you know, what it was like working at Naughty Dog. And then I would run into him occasionally in the halls and he'd ask how things are going with like the layered material system. So yeah, I don't know Neil. I don't know Todd very well, but I did have a few occasions to talk to him. So yeah.
He does seem like a genuinely nice guy. I will say that. Like, we all talk about Todd. He's one of these larger than life personas at this point. But he does seem like a genuinely nice guy. That's one thing I've heard consistently, is that he's a very nice guy. Likes his watches, drives nice cars. You know, he's a very nice guy. But I had never thought about that, but I just thought it was very funny to hear that Todd was potentially like a fanboy of Neil Druckmann. I just thought that was very funny. And again, it gave me those like Michael Jackson hardcore fanboy of Britney Spears vibes. So you know what? I need one of you guys in the Discord to make an edit of this with Michael Jackson chasing Britney Spears. I need you to make that edit, but put Todd's face and then Neil's face. Okay. Can we do that? Or is that distasteful? Because Neil would be on Britney Spears' body. I don't want it to seem, that might not work because this whole situation's kind of sexually charged. It's kind of the point of the song. So maybe that doesn't work. But now that I've said it, you guys are gonna do it anyways. So I'm in too deep. Oops. Too late. Anyway, fascinating interview. Again, I highly encourage you go and check out the full thing. Kiwi Talks does amazing interviews and it's always fascinating. And there's a lot of interesting tidbits in there about all sorts of different facets of the development process on Starfield, working at Naughty Dog, some intricacies of Neil's writing style, and we may go back and look at some more tidbits of it because it is very interesting. But fascinating interview and very, very good. And again, it just always is interesting to hear directly from somebody that was their perspective, because you find out little things like Lost Legacy originally being set in China, and then some of the inner workings and behind the scenes stuff that you would not have otherwise heard about. It's always fascinating, and I just love it. I find it so interesting. So there you go. Having said that, there is one more big thing I want to get to before we adjourn for the day. I wanted to go through Blood of Dawnwalker's stuff, but we might save that for a dedicated time. But let me catch up on these real quick. Okay, real quick. Hold on, my page is frozen. Dad Ventures, thank you for the sub with Prime, my friend. Appreciate you. And then William or Will, thank you for the sub as well, my friend. Also the Major, thank you for that as well. Thank you, thank you. Let me reload this so that it actually shows up properly. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Okay. Oh my God, you guys sent a lot of super chats. Let me catch up really quick. Robbie, thank you for the 2, a free super chat every month. Took 11 months to realize. Oh, oops. Yeah, I'm also supposed to get free memberships to dole out. They never gave them to me. I don't have that feature enabled on YouTube. I don't know why. Maxwell Manners, thank you for the 5. Hey, Luke, you might have already talked about this at some point, but have you tried Windrose yet? It's being published by Pocket Bear. Yes, Windrose is baller. It's a survival game, so it does not play like Black Flag, but it's really good. And the sea shanties are really good too. DBZ, thank you for the 5. To be fair, I think this is to combat PS5 jailbreaks. That's my impression, honestly. Yes, we talked about that earlier. I do think that's what it was intended for initially as well. Westside Maverick, thank you for that. Don Walker gives a nice sneak peek into what CDPR devs can do with Unreal Engine 5. They can do a lot, but apparently it runs poorly. Woof. Woof. I don't think I've seen in a minute. I don't think I've seen 5090 actually listed on a recommended spec sheet, but it's not recommended, it's ultra, but still, it's heavy. It's a heavy game. It's a heavy game. Mr. Sandman, MJ and Brittany as Todd and Druckmann. Got you, fam. Oh boy. Here we go. UE5 baby. Yeah, baby. What do I think of the color red? I could take it or leave it. Thank you, Key Rift. Mo Lahan, thank you for the 10. My main problem with the PlayStation thing is that people like me that deploy for 9 months like I am right now, sometimes I leave when I'm on mission. I'm able to connect for more than 30 days. Not okay. Yeah, well, which is why it seems like if you were to buy and then leave within 2 weeks of that purchase, it would then disable the game until you connect it to the internet again. At which point it would realize it was past 2 weeks, and then it would give you a permanent license and you'd be okay. That's what it seems to be right now, based on our understanding. But again, Sony has not disclosed or talked about it, so we just don't know exactly how it works, but that's what it seems to be. Oliver Trees, thank you for the 5. Luke, what do you not like about Crimson Desert? It's starting to wear on me, finding it hard to continue. Played 137 hours, but still have a lot left to do. I think for me, if I had to find specific things to poke at, like obviously there's the ones they've been addressing. Inventory management is a big headache. I think that there's things to balance out between the different playable characters, because right now it feels like you're always just focused on Cliff. Anytime you're forced to go to a different character, you have to basically respec, pull all of your skill points out, and then redeploy, which just seems needlessly tedious. Let me get duplicate skill items across all of them so that I can level them all up, and then it'll give me an incentive to use all of them. Things like that. There's just a little quality of life things that they can absolutely fix and patch that they've been doing to make it better. They've already worked on inventory management, different tabs for things, personal storage. None of that was there at launch, and it's already getting way better. So things like that. It's getting better every single day, every single patch. But there's still probably some more quality of life things I would tweak. Man, you don't have to respec. Oh, see, they patched that. So there you go. I'm like, if you go back to my review, the main things I pointed out for the launch version were like the playable characters, inventory management. There were occasional bugs with some quests that were just kind of annoying and that would require like reloads occasionally. There were other things like, you know, falling off of one of these sky islands while doing a puzzle. You would just fall all the way down to the surface. They patched that so it lets you actually like stop your fall and get back up, which is such like an obvious thing, but that wasn't their launch. So there were a lot of things we wanted that they addressed. Like even camera controls was something people wanted, to be able to adjust the actual camera, move it in like more like a Red Dead camera positioning, and they added that. Like there's so many things that were frustrations that they've already fixed. So there's just a ton of stuff that they've been doing. But anyway, it's a good question. And as for whether it's wearing on you, I mean, for any game to take 137 hours to start wearing on you is pretty remarkable. It's very good. And if you need to take a break, take a break. It might be one of those games that you take, a month off and then you go back to it. You play another 20 hours, then you take a month off, you come back to it. It's just that massive. And I think that's totally fine. I think it's totally fine to do it. Let's see. Okay, read the Arkham one. Thank you again for that. Appreciate you. Turagila, I think. Thank you for that. What Culture Gaming had a new video on the update on the DRM today. It looked like it was just 30 days to stop refunds. People still keeping the game. Yeah, it's the exploit that we talked about. Real serious. This is a super dumb question, but how would this affect Easter eggs like the one in Arkham City where Calendar Man would affect or would say different things based on the date set in the console? Like popping, you mean popping the CMOS battery? Like popping that, how would that affect it? Well, it would just reset the date. So it resets the date to January 1st, 2011 or whatever. And my assumption would be that you would just boot the game. It would read the date as January 1st and it would be fine. I don't think it would cause any like major problems. DBZ, people shouldn't be shocked when people with nefarious intentions ruin it for everybody. It's not surprising a company as greedy as Sony would respond. Well, apparently they've wanted to respond to it for a long time too. It's been an exploit for like a decade. Is my understanding. Bender, thank you for the 5. Wouldn't the PlayStation license situation help the Stop Killing Games' case? Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm sure it's going to come up. Absolutely. Wallet the Great. Oh, it's common. Oh, I did read these because we were talking about it at the time. Christopher Burnett, thank you for the 10. Off topic, but there's a very good chance the GTA Trailer 3 with pre-orders will drop on either May 5th or May 12th. My prediction is Trailer 3 drops on May 5th and pre-orders go up on the 12th. That would line up, honestly. Like I think they have doubled down multiple times that they are close. We can touch on this as a continuation of that super chat. Strauss Zelnick said today that GTA 6 marketing will begin quote unquote soon in response to being asked about the game. And the specific quotation was, Wilson was immediately followed by Take-Two Interactive's Strauss Zelnick, who would not give interviewer Jenny Moss of Variety a date for when marketing for GTA 6 will begin soon. He said he did tell stories about Zynga finding its footing a few years after Undertake 2, but he did say soon. It would start soon. Furthermore, of course, he talked about like other things with pricing, figuring out how to properly price stuff. Consumers pay for the value that you bring to them, and our job is to charge way, 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 way less of the value delivery. How you feel about something you buy is the intersection of the thing itself and what you pay for. Consumers need to feel like the thing itself is amazing and the price they were charged for it is fair for what they got. Because people are, of course, trying to find out if they're going to charge $80 for GTA or what they're going to do. But I do think we will see something for GTA soon, because obviously May 21st, I believe, is their earnings call, and it's expected that they should have something to say at the earnings call about GTA 6. That's all investors want to know. If it's delayed, we will find out there. I don't think it's delayed. I think if it were, he would be signaling that, or he'd be less committal in his comments. But I think it is coming in November. I think there's two schools of thought. Either they announce pre-orders, they lock it in officially for November before the earnings call. So at the earnings call, they can see, look, we have this number of pre-orders in the first 2 weeks. You should invest in our company. And we're going to launch in November. It's going to be amazing. And this is our data for interest. It's outpacing our projections and all this stuff. Or they wait until after the earnings call and do it then. To me, it makes more sense to open pre-orders than to do that stuff before you do the earnings call. But let's be real, Rockstar can do whatever the hell they want. So I would not be surprised if it's May 5th or May 12th. And I also am personally expecting that they are going to... I think it would be really amazing for the industry if they launched it at 60. I don't think they will. If they launched it at 60, it would be such like big dick energy that it would be memed for all time, but I don't think they're going to do that. They can charge 70 for it and everybody would be like, oh, so full price. They could easily do that. Or they could go up to 80 and I think everybody would still buy it. Like if there's, let's just use round numbers, day one, if there's 10 million people that would buy it at $70 on the first day of launch, I think the number of people that fall off when they go to $80 is very small. Like 10 million buy it at 70 on the first day. If they charge 80 for it, I think that number is 9,900,000. Like I think it's still very, very high. And I think it would more than make up for that. So I'm expecting them to charge 80 simply because they can. And then I think they'll have like deluxe edition with early access that is going to be like $120. That's kind of my guess. So we'll see. We'll see. But yeah, I think we'll see it soon, and I think it will be expensive. Real Serious, thank you for that one. Another shout out to Steam. They have recommended regional pricing. Oh, we did read that one. Yes, thank you for that. Alex, thank you for the 2 follow-up. Should I avoid buying digital then? Well, a lot of people prefer to like buy physically. The problem is now most physical copies just basically have a key on the disc. Like it's got 50 megabytes of data on the disc, and that's it. And so you still have to connect to the internet to download it. So it's most games nowadays, except ironically, a lot of Switch games are not entirely on the cartridge or on the disc. And so even if you buy physical, you're not actually getting a physical copy, you know. It's actually quite rare nowadays. Like the vast majority of games require an online connection to install. So yeah, they can't fit on the disc. Most, I think the PS5 uses just standard Blu-ray discs. And most, yeah, dual layer, like, so standard Blu-ray can store 25 gigabytes or up to 50 gigabytes on a dual layer. The 4K ones, let's see, they can store on a triple layer up to 100 gigabytes of data, but you'll notice like a lot of games nowadays are over 100 gigabytes, and triple layer discs like are more expensive. So if they do a dual layer for 66 gigs, then they just require you to download the rest of it. You know, like, what are you gonna do? So I don't know, man. I think it's, unfortunately, there's no good solution nowadays. Like it used to be, you just buy a physical copy and then you own the physical copy of the game and they can't take it away from you. Now it still is requiring like digital stuff. So Red Dead 2 was on 2 Blu-rays. I think LA Noire back in the day, it was the 360. I think it was on 4. Yes. This is what I remember. I remember. Did any of you guys have this? The 4 discs for LA Noire? I remember that. Those were the days, man. You would reach points in the story where it would pop up and be like, please insert disc 2. And it wouldn't crash the game, but it would have you open the disk drive, you take it out, you put in the new disc, and it continues. You know? Yeah, 4 discs, dude. It's because of all the audio capture and because of how they did the facial animations. It was basically projected videos. So they had to store all those videos on the disc. And so it just made the file sizes crazy large, you know, whereas other games, they'll just store the animation data for like while the jaw moves. For them, they had to store basically videos for every face for the whole game. You know, it's wild. It's wild. Luke, how do you feel about Sony's buttonless design for the PS6 controller, and do you feel like it will push away players? Somebody asked me about that. Maybe it was you the other day. I hadn't seen anything about this. PS6 buttonless controller. Oh, it was like the patent. What is this?
Sony just
Oh my
leaked a
God.
buttonless controller. So instead of physical buttons, the entire controller is a smart touch interface that shows virtual buttons.
So why is it cropping like that? Stop. So they filed a patent for a controller that doesn't have buttons and is just touch screens. What I will say is I don't think there's any shot this thing launches with the console. Sony files, and every company does this. Every company files a ton of patents, many of which never see the light of day and never turn into products. So I would not expect this to be a thing. If anything, I could see this being like a solid pitch for maybe an accessibility controller or something like that, where you can move the buttons exactly where you need them to be. But I don't think that they're going to launch a PlayStation 6 with a controller that's just a screen. Like I don't think that's what they're going to do. So I am Xing it out on that one. I don't think it's going to be like an actual product. Maybe as an accessibility product, but I don't think you'll see that in the box. I just don't think so. Maybe as a fun spin-off controller, but I don't think anybody's buying that. At least not in the numbers that would justify it. I think it's more likely they had an engineer who had the idea, they patented it just to lock it up. So now if anybody else ever wants to do that, they can file a lawsuit and get a licensing fee. That's more of what it is. Let's see. Jacob, thank you for that. 5. Hi, Luke. I don't know if you changed your stream settings. Oh, yes, we did read that one. I'm not sure what's happening. DVR determines rewind only changeable before live. That would explain it. But that also doesn't explain why some people can and others can't. I don't know. I'll have it fixed for next stream, though. Wallet, which webcam would you recommend? Is the OBS Bot Meet 2 or the Meet Pixie? Both are within the same price. Also, a member can't join the Discord. Send me an email with your a screenshot of your membership, and a member of my team can get you hooked up. Okay, get you hooked up. As for which webcam I would recommend, I genuinely don't know. I've not used either of these. Looking at them, I've not seen these. I'm sure they're both solid. They both look to be 4K webcams. It looks like one is built around AI features like tracking while you move around the room and stuff like that. I think you need that for 99% of content. So I'd probably go with the OBSBot Meet 2 instead of the Pixie. Just because I think like the tracking stuff, I don't know. I'm not sure if you will need that. You know, like if you're just sitting at a desk. If you're doing a stream where you're moving around, like you're streaming in a workshop while you work with different tools, that makes sense. Yeah, I get that. But if you're just sitting, I wouldn't think you would need that. Spies Arcanum Compendium, thank you for the 5. Are you going to try Wayward Realms Alpha? They said they're launching in June. I don't know if I'll try the alpha, but I might try it at launch. The like playtest stuff I'm always iffy on because I only have so much time that I want to be intentional with what I try and when. But yeah, I'd be down to try it when it launches. Real Serious sounds like CD Projekt ideas allow for ideas to flow upwards to management. Yeah, we read that one. I think you're right. Sons of Vision, thank you for that. How slow are they with their cookie cutter RPGs? Quite slow. D-Tunes, thank you for the 5. We can't rewind the live stream anymore. Yeah, it seems like it's a stream setting or a YouTube glitch or both because some people said they can still do it. I don't know what's happening. Crunch in Poland is very common. I didn't know that. There you go. Hayden Wayne, thank you for that 10. But isn't it just getting the job done by the deadline? Oh, I did read that one. I read that one from Wallet. Thank you again for that. CJ, see, I come off my days covered shifts, 18-hour days to prove that I was for the company. When it was time for a promotion, my manager gave me a bad review so he could keep me on his team. Oh, really? Oh, dude, that sucks. I'd yell at my manager. I'd crash out if they did that. I like work my butt off to get a promotion and then they give me a bad review so I don't get the promotion. Yeah, I'd crash out. Thank you again, Hayden, for that super chat. That was very generous. Alex, thank you for that. Sci proves 8-hour, I think maybe you mean science, proves 8-hour work plus life equals better long-term output. Overwork fails. For example, Europe's shift to fewer days per hour shows rested minds create more. Balance is key for creative growth and peak productivity. I've seen studies like that, Alex, that claim that. I've also seen countering studies that show productivity plummets. I think it's realistically a lot of it relies on other factors. So for example, if you have the same employees for 20 years, keeping them happy and healthy, obviously, is a good long-term investment. Shocker. But a lot of these companies and a lot of the games industry is built around turnover. So somebody works at Naughty Dog for a few years and then leaves and works somewhere else. And so they might have crunch for these team members and then they leave, but somebody else comes in and they crunch, and then somebody leaves and then these guys come in and they crunch. And so if you look at it in a vacuum with the same employees for 20 years, I'm sure that is true. But for like industries and companies where there's high turnover, probably because of crunch, the like stats get messy, you know, because you're not tracking the same employees perpetually. So it's tricky. It's tricky for sure. But I think the fact that there's a lot of debate within the industry is fascinating, Because if it was backed up by the data and it was true, just on a factual level, that working less hours, more vacation time leads to a higher quality product and better overall output, every studio would do that because it's about the money. Like if you can get a better product out in less time overall by treating everybody better, they would all do that. What seems to be happening is that companies, after the last 5-6 years of experimenting with like work from home and better work-life balance, they're choosing to go back on those like pro-worker policies because their outputs are dropping, or they think that they can get better efficiency and better like overall what they need from their employees out of it by pushing them harder. So it still seems like a topic of debate, at least among managers. Again, in my ideal world, everybody has really healthy work-life balance. Everybody, works a day at home, gets paid an amazing living wage and enough for retirement accounts, and they have time for friends, family, hobbies, everything. That's my ideal. But unfortunately, I don't get to make the rules. It's people like, it's the CEOs like Satya Nadella who are making the rules, and they don't care too much about work-life balance, it seems. That might be a hot take, but 2KO, thank you for the 5. Luke, what do you think about AMD blacklisting Gamers Nexus, and do you think AMD is becoming one of those kinds of corporations? I had not heard that they blacklisted Gamers Nexus. I had not heard of that, so I will pull that up in another tab. I've not seen anything on that, but if that's the case, that's crazy. 1 week ago, posted a video blacklisted by AMD's dirty tactics. I mean, what we all can agree is that AMD has been dropping the ball for years. They should have easily had a competitor to a lot of NVIDIA stuff, and they just don't. Mr. Sandman, thank you for that one. MJ and Brittany as Todd and Druckmann. Got you, fam. I can't wait to see the edits. T. Van Bus, thank you for the 5. Took a break from CD to play Starfield. Very short break. That's funny. Mr. says, thank you for the 5. Hey, Luke, how do you feel about Sony's buttonless design? Oh, I read that one. Like I said, I don't think that it's going to be an actual product that launches with the PS6. And then Chase BL, thank you for the membership. And Tony, did you tell anyone about my Crimson Desert problem? Yes, it's on, like, I'm sure they have a massive list, but I pinged it over to one of the people I know. We'll see what happens. But I'm sure they have 1,000 things they're working on, and they're just chipping through it. But yeah, it's at least out there for them to work on. So fingers crossed they get it fixed soon, and that there is a fix that's easy. My only fear is that a lot of save file corruption issues, there's not really a way to fix the save file once it's busted. A lot of the time it's just start a new save and it won't break again, which I hope is not what happened for you, but you never know. I had that happen with what was it? It was Avowed. I had crazy problems, technical issues out the ass with that game, and it got to the point where they were basically just like, so we think we found what did it, but it doesn't seem that there is an easy, it doesn't seem like there's an easy fix. So it seems like you need to go back and basically create a new save to avoid that problem. It won't break again in the way that it did, but we can, we can't like fix it. So I hope that's not what happened. Let's see. I appreciate just telling them. Yeah, well, I mean, if they can fix it, I'm sure they will. It's just, and I'm sure you're not the only one who's run into the problem. That's the other thing. I'm sure you're not the only one. These things don't tend to happen in a vacuum, let's see. I remember accidentally buying the CD-ROM version of Half-Life 2. I think it was like 8 discs. Dude, for real? That's insane. Those are the days, man. But that made every cost, or that made it all significantly more expensive to manufacture those physical copies. And that's why these companies love the digital stuff, because they don't have to do any of that. NJ Breaks, thank you for the 10. Very generous. Thank you. I legit bought a PS5 for GTA 6 before the price hike back in December. I don't know if I would buy one now. Why not just buy a gaming PC and wait? Yeah. Well, you're with like stuff getting to the point close to 1,000, you're getting to that crossover point where a lot of people are pausing and questioning. That's the key. Like previously, people would have just been like, yeah, oh, it's $500 for a PS5 and or you know, 6 or you know, 700 for a Pro. I'll just get the Pro. You know, it wouldn't give them that much pause. They just be like, I'll do that. Now, yeah. Well, in generations previous, you know, when it was 300 for the console and 450 for the Pro or 500 for the Pro, yeah, they just go do it. They just go buy it. Now I think there's going to be a lot of people who walk into the store and see it at that premium point and pause. When is the Luke candle making game? But really, you should produce a game. I would love to. I would love to. And you never know. Life is short. You might as well get on it. I would love to work on stuff. I've got a folder of game concepts and ideas that I've accumulated over the years. Whenever I have an idea I think that would work, I kind of draw it out and try to figure out what it would be like. And so I've got a whole folder of them ranging from like big budget stuff to small stuff. Who knows if I'll ever get the chance to do it, but I would love to. I would love to. It would be great. Lord Wise Wolf, thank you also for the month. Off topic, but I painted my first mini for Gundam Assemble. It sucked, but this isn't a gateway to more minis, right? No. Everybody knows when you get into painting miniatures, you just, you know, you just do the one and then you're done forever. You know, you definitely don't end up with glass cases full of them and a bank account that's crying. No, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. It'll be great. Don't stress about it. It's fine. It's fine. Who's going to tell him? It's like, I'm just going to buy one Lego set. I don't think you are. I don't think so. I don't think so. Yeah, good. I'm safe. Good. We dodged that bullet. Okay, fam. I am going to call it there. I wanted to get to Blood of Dawnwalker stuff, but I think we're going to pause there, and I'm going to give it plenty of time when we can like really focus on it and delve deep into it. So I'll call it there, and we'll be back on, I believe, Friday. We should be back rocking and rolling. It should be good. On the main channel, I'm about to post a cool video we did with some of the people behind Don't Nod's latest game, Aphelion. They actually hooked me up with the opportunity to interview a couple of astronauts for their game and talk kind of about the broader design decisions, how astronauts train. It was legitimately really, really cool. So I will have that posted up. Tomorrow we will have a video for Saros up, and then in the days afterwards we should have even more stuff, because I don't know exactly when the Batman, like Lego Batman stuff lifts, but I think there should be some interesting tidbits, so we'll get to that. Okay. Anyway, have a fantastic evening. Much love. I'll see you soon. Hugs and kisses. Tony, thank you for that super chat. I'll work with you as a voice actor. Oh baby. You never know what could happen. Much love. I'll see you in the next one. Hugs and kisses, guys. Bye bye. Mwah.